Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
The naughty alarm clock. Highland Radio.
Well, there you have it for a Tuesday. We're going to hand you over to Gregory Hughes. Greg, can I just say it was a lovely day yesterday? You had a great walk.
We did, yeah. We did day 2 of the Camino. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great people, beautiful weather, wonderful setting. Absolutely fabulous.
The pictures up on social look great.
Yeah.
And the weather held good for the kind of day it was.
The mist, it was misty rain, and it just faded. It just disappeared as the walk was about to happen.
Yeah.
Sun came out.
You really enjoyed it then?
Yeah, it was
Was it
lovely.
nice?
But it's lovely to get out for a walk as well anyway,
Yeah.
Not too bad, not feeling any pain today.
No. God bless you. But as he
The most
says.
important thing is, and this is amazing, is that we collectively have raised over €5,000 now.
I
for
just
Donegal
checked that
Cancer-
this morning. Well
Cancer
done.
West. Isn't that fantastic?
Isn't it brilliant?
Yeah, so they're hoping to get over 100. So our little thing,
What's
5% of that.
It's another brick in the construction of the big picture, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
no,
a
it
right.
was good. It
That's
was
a right
brilliant.
wall of
Yeah.
$5,000.
Isn't it?
That's brilliant.
Because I thought, one would be great. So 5, I'm overjoyed. But people can still, if they wish, get
It's still up
involved.
there,
Yeah,
up in-
get your name in. It's idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. And it quite literally goes straight into the Donegal Camino Fund, which goes straight to Cancer Care West. Right?
Yeah. I know you only think 2 days in ahead, right? But you'll be doing this again next year.
No.
What do you...
Don't know.
Oh, don't
It's
say...
a busy old week. Let's worry about that down the line.
But...
Because on Friday, we have Irish Music Month, the finals down on Greenon between 9 and 12, right? It's public. It's open to the public.
It's going to be great.
So people can go onto the On Greenon website. The tickets are free, of course. Book a ticket because that's just the way it has to be done. And can come and see the 9 till noon show live. It's not the same kind of a show. And see the acts perform live. So if you're listening on a Friday morning...
Yeah.
Drop into the theatre. So you have to get your ticket beforehand.
And there's other stuff happening as well on Friday?
What's happening on Friday?
Oh, come on. Look at Caroline.
Oh, yeah, the big throw for 10,000.
10 grand, Daddy, come on. Come here, because I was
You're
flagging...
giving away $2.5 grand.
I was flagging, I'm giving away 2.5. Then next Friday, the 6th of September, it's going to be Greg Hughes giving away 10 grand.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, is this Friday you're giving away the 10 grand?
That's happening live as well on Greenon.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just there's an awful lot going on.
That's all right. I know
Because
you're
then
going
we're
to... What day is today's Tuesday? You're going to think as far as Thursday. That's all right.
Because
That's
then
all
we're
right.
going to London then, you see, for the show on Sunday.
Oh, here we go. Tough out life, Daddy.
I know. But you're listening. It's all good. It's all content.
It's all great.
So Friday, €10,000 given away on my show, 2,500 on your show, Lee.
Yeah. You may come in a bit early that day, could you?
I'm down at the theatre, aren't I?
But you're only down the road.
Okay, I can do if you want me to.
Well, maybe.
No,
See how
what time are
fix
you
it.
doing it at?
Oh, well, sure, whatever. I'll work around you.
Sean won't like that, will he? You'll
Will he
have to run
not?
it past him. I
I
don't
should
know.
leave it with Sean then. Pass the ball back to Sean. Yep. Go.
All right, come here. We'll figure it all out. My mind will be fully in the game tomorrow. How's that?
Good on. Have a good show.
All right, Leo, take care of yourself. That's Lee the Sunshine Gooch. It is 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it is over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A full review of the bike shelter controversy at Leinster House is going to be carried out. A shelter for 18 bikes was constructed at a cost of €336,000. The Minister for the OPW has requested a review to be carried out as to why it costs so much money. Taoiseach Simon Harris is welcoming this, saying the public deserves answers.
This is the sort of thing that rightly angers and annoys people, and it angers and annoys me as well. Because yes, workplaces should provide somewhere to park the bike, grand, but they shouldn't do it in a manner that is lavish or extortionate in relation to the public person.
Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle says the government needs to give more resources to local authorities to build houses as part of a comprehensive rethink on its housing policy. However, the independent TD has questioned whether there's an appetite within government to take the measures necessary to effect real change. He says government has a duty of care to fulfil.
The market doesn't provide. The role of government should be to provide for the people that are in most need, and that then will free up accommodation then for people then who are able and have the ability to purchase accommodation and also will bring down prices. And the government has to realise this, but it seems that they're intent on pursuing the policy that they want to, and we're going to have to get used to seeing that homelessness is going to be this way. And I don't believe that we have to have this way, and I don't believe that the Irish people want it to be this way.
It comes as the number of families seeking help from Focused Ireland increased by 11% last year. Almost 2,000 more people engaged with the homeless charity in 2023 compared to the previous year, an increase of 12% according to its annual report. Director of Advocacy Mike Allen says the government can make a difference on homelessness with the right policies put in place.
Housing and homelessness problem which seems overwhelming, but can be solved with the right policies, and we really need to get that across to people that as an organisation we're successful every day in supporting people out of homelessness. As a society we could be successful year by year on a much larger scale if we had the right set of policies in place.
Parents are even less involved in their children's online lives than they used to be, according to new research. A quarter of primary school children have been upset by harmful content online, according to CyberSafe Kids' annual report. A fifth of secondary school students have also been affected. Uisce Éireann are warning of potential supply interruptions in North Inishowen as a result of works taking place outside Greencastle under the National Leakage Reduction Programme. They say main repair works may cause supply disruptions to Carrow, Hughes and surrounding areas until 5 o'clock today. People are advised to allow up to 4 hours for supplies to return to normal after this time. For weather now, it'll be mostly cloudy today with scattered showers of rain or drizzle and occasional sunny intervals. The best of the sunshine is likely to be this evening. That's with highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in moderate northwest winds. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again with the next update at 10 o'clock.
Here at the National Lottery, we love the sound of a good woohoo! And we've heard plenty, with 1,000 millionaires so far. That's 1,000 it could be yous that came true. And we're only getting started. So next time you play a National Lottery game, polish up on your own wahoo. You could need it. The National Lottery. It really could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun. Millionaires calculated by reference to prizes valued at €1 million and over, claimed since 1987.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 3rd of September. And it's great to have you on board for the programme. And it's another interesting mix of news, features, conversation. We want you involved throughout, of course, the 3 hours, and I'll just give you a rundown of the very familiar contact details for you now. But you never know, people tuning in all the time, or maybe today's the day there is a subject that you want to get your say out onto the airwaves about. 086 60 25,000, that's for WhatsApps or texts, and you can send your WhatsApp voice notes to that number if that suits you. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. If you're outside the Republic, of course, 00353 7491 25,000. And if you want to email the show, comments at highlandradio.com. You have the option to watch as well if that suits your lifestyle. We're on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. That means you can watch us on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. We're on the X platform and across Facebook. Just search us out there. We are there. And again, just to recap, a big thank you to all of you who so generously donated for our little adventure yesterday that we had. It was in Ards Forest, around Ards Friary, along the coast. Absolutely beautiful scenery that we have here. And as I was saying to Lee there earlier, the weather was fantastic. The spirit and the mood was really fantastic as well. And best of luck to all of those taking part in the Donegal Camino as they take on Mount Ergal. Later on today, I think they're going up, or they're beginning their ascent at 10. But they're such a lovely bunch of people and so friendly and welcoming. And they're doing amazing stuff for a great cause. They've already raised almost €75,000 towards Cancer Care West, the West of Ireland Cancer Charity. And thanks to your generosity through this show, we're going to be throwing $5,000 at least into that as well, which is fantastic, isn't it? It's lovely for all of us, I think. As I say, if you want to get involved in that, it's still not too late. You can give us a ring here at the station or go on to donate.ie/Greg Hughes. But as I say, thank you so very much for getting us over that 5. It was a wonderful milestone to achieve, and best of luck to all of the crew as they continue their Camino walk. Right. Let us look at the newspapers as we head towards our first guest. Coalition and Sinn Féin clash over party's new housing proposal. Sinn Féin and the government clashed sharply yesterday over the main opposition party's new housing plan, as the issue looks set to dominate political exchanges this autumn. Sinn Féin intends to use the plan to reignite its criticism of the government as a general election draws closer, with senior figures hopeful it can restore dwindling polling momentum and swing crucial undecided voters in its direction. Now, the truth be told, Sinn Féin were at the heady heights of something like 37% in the polls. They're down to 17 or 18 in the most recent poll. Support for Mary Lou McDonald has also dwindled significantly. For me, personally, just as an observer, I think I can see why that has happened. Is this housing plan going to be enough to reverse and address that? I'm not really sure about that. But anyway, the launch sparks conflict between the opposition and the government. As Fianna Fáil leader Micheál Martin said, the plan would make a coalition with Sinn Féin impossible, which is really quite an interesting proposition, because both parties would need each other to go into government. Sinn Féin, obviously, particularly because Fine Gael simply won't do business with them. Fianna Fáil, obviously, they would have the Fine Gael option. Taoiseach Simon Harris dismissed a key part of the plan as a Frankenstein solution. Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald described it as the most ambitious public housing programme in the history of the state. The party says it would deliver, on average, 60,000 homes annually over 5 years. It would overhaul the Land Development Agency, wind down or axe government schemes aimed at first-time buyers, and introduce a new affordable housing plan. So the schemes that are in there at the moment, they will be gone. We're going to talk to Sinn Féin's Piers Doherty on the programme in this first hour and put some of those questions to him, and maybe he'll explain more and more as to how it might actually work. The Independent tells us that a quarter of children have been bullied online at primary school age, with girls more likely to be victimised, according to a startling new report. The figure rises as high as 38% for children aged 12 to 14, according to CyberSafe Kids' annual trends and usage report. So, I mean, being a young'un is tough enough, and it's particularly tough in this day and age. But if you're getting abuse online or you're getting bullied at school, it makes life very, very difficult. And it does affect you into your adulthood. I've spoke to enough people and have personal knowledge to know that that's the case. A quarter of children are being bullied at the moment. The report is titled Left to Their Own Devices, in reference to the increasing amount of time children are spending alone on the internet, social media and online gaming. It warns 65% of 8 to 12-year-olds have been contacted by a stranger while playing a game online. I'll just read that to you one more time, because imagine if this were a shopping centre and your child came over to you or came home to you. She was 9 or 10, or he was 9 or 10, and they said, "Well, Dad, a stranger approached me in the shopping centre." You would be up to high dough. It would be on Facebook, warning other parents, and the whole community would be all worried about it. I don't see a great difference between an online approach and a physical approach. I mean, obviously the physical approach presents, more immediate danger. But 65%, more than 6 out of 10 of 8 to 12-year-olds have been contacted by a stranger while playing a game online. Meanwhile, a quarter of children this age told researchers they'd experienced cyberbullying. 28% of girls, 22% of boys had suffered bullying online. The report noted that despite the sharp focus on smartphones in schools, it's more common than ever for an 11-year-old to own a smartphone. And we as parents justify it, don't we? But it's obviously problematic. The Irish Daily Mail. The Department of Education has come under pressure to drop a junior cycle textbook containing what's been described as absurdly misconceived and discriminatory depictions of an Irish family from the school curriculum. Now, this is one of those that you have to see it to believe it. To the extent whereby I want to see the book. Do you know that sort of a way? We're literally trying to track down the book because I want to hold it and see it with my own eyes, because there's an awful lot of images circulating on social media. They're the same images that are being circulated over and over. I'm not saying this information is not in this book, but I just want to see it and I want to hold the book myself. The Health and Wellbeing book is part of the Social, Personal and Health Education SPHE curriculum and is taught to children between first and third year. Now, what's crucial about this, from my perspective, and as a parent, and many of you listening are parents, I can't get access to this book online. I've tried, we've tried. I would like to see what's being taught to our children. That information should be available online for us to see in advance, because how can we be angry or happy or sad if we can't access this information ourselves? This book is not available. The only information available to parents that I can see, and I'm more than happy to be corrected, is sort of general guidance to teachers as to how they approach certain subjects. Politicians across the spectrum have criticised the depiction of family under a section entitled All Different, All Equal, which contrasts the traditional Irish family with another from a mixed background. Now, as I say, this is where, well, I'll describe the pictures, okay, and then I'll describe the pictures, and then from there we can read what the paper is saying. So, the Irish family is 4 people. The 2 kids, well, Dad's got a big ginger beard, big ginger hair. Mom's got a big ginger fluff of hair, and she's wearing an apron by the looks of it, because she's wearing an apron because you can see the bottom of her jeans from under it. They're standing in front of an old thatched cottage that probably doesn't appear to have running water or electricity. That's the kind of age it looks depicted. There's a cow looking on with an expression of disdain. This is the truth, right? And there's 2 kids in the background, also with red hair, Irish dancing among chickens. And behind them, there's a hurley at the front door and a schlitter in the front yard. And it looks Ara Bigara, you know, and it just looks like nothing like I recognise about Ireland. Contrasting that, there's a mixed race family, and they are taking selfies. They're dressed in all fancy gear. They're standing in front of what do you call those things in Italy? The Colosseum. Yes, they're standing in front of a Colosseum, traveling the world, happy, waving flags, eating pizza, taking selfies. So that's how the mixed families look described, and the Irish family is they're all in iron jumpers with red hair and Irish dancing among the chickens. Well, the Irish family, I'll see what the paper sees it as now. The Irish family depicted outside a thatched cottage and all wearing iron jumpers, eat potatoes, bacon and cabbage every day. This is in the text. The eat potatoes, bacon and cabbage every day, do not like change or difference, and the children get told off if we mix with people with a different religion from ours, as they would be a bad influence. So, as well as the picture I described, this is how the family is described in the book. Outside of that cottage, we eat potatoes, bacon and cabbage every day. We do not like change or difference, and the children get told off if we mix with people with a different religion from ours, as they would be a bad influence on us. Now, I've never... that is not the type of Irish family I know or am part of. But anyway, in contrast, the mixed-race family, who may also well be Irish, by the way, they love change and difference. They eat curry, they eat pizza and Asian food, and they spend their time travelling internationally and visiting art galleries. As school returned last week, Independent TD Karen Nolan said she was contacted by dozens of parents seeking to have the offending material immediately removed from classrooms. The Laois Offaly deputy said, "At first I thought this was some kind of a parody, but astonishingly this is not the case." So what do you think about that? 08660 25,000. It's not it's like when I first saw it, I didn't believe it, and I had to look at it myself. But there you have it. That's how the Irish family is depicted versus an Irish mixed family. Enoch Burke, he's back in jail for a 3rd time for breaching a court order to stay away from a school that he was sacked from last year. Mr. Burke has been showing up each day at Wilson Hospital School in Multy-Farnham. That's right, Multy-Farnham, County Westmeath, since it opened its doors for the new school term late last month. Now, this guy doesn't have any headphones or anything, and he must have incredible the ability to stand there, not listening to music, not doing anything, just stand there. But anyway, he was arrested by Gardaí yesterday after a judge ordered that Mr. Burke must appear before the High Court for breaching an injunction to stay away from the school. He's now been committed again to Mountjoy Prison, where he's already spent over 400 days until he purges his contempt. Mr. Burke was initially suspended from school in summer 22 following his reaction to being asked to call a transgender student by a new name and pronouns they, which he said was against his religious beliefs. He was subsequently sacked from the school in January 23, but he has appealed the dismissal and remains on full pay pending the hearing of an appeal. Speaking to the paper at the school last month, he said he would continue to turn up there as this is where I work. However, he also admitted that he hated his time locked up in Mountjoy. But he's back there again and again, just to be clear. He might have his religious beliefs and he might have his disputes with the school, but the reason he's in jail, and the only reason he's in jail at this point, and we can talk about what led to this point, is that he keeps turning up at the school to go to school with his school bag and his tie and his jacket and all that kind of stuff. He's sacked from the school, but he still wants to go there. That is the actual reason why he's in jail, but obviously the background as to how he ended up in court in the first place does involve his views on transgenderism. Apparently, we're moving away from electric cars. The electric vehicle market in Ireland is in need of a jump start, car chiefs have warned. The Society of Irish Motor Industry is calling for support in Budget 25 as stats reveal total new car registrations for August were down 8%. Last month, 1,259 new electric cars were registered, 29% lower than 23, and so far this year 15,000 odd new EVs have been registered. That's a quarter of a drop, a 25% drop compared to the same period in 23 when 20,266 of the greener motors were snapped up. Greener at the exhaust, I think it's an important clarification. I'm not saying they're not overall greener, but they're carbon neutral at the exhaust. I don't know how they're going to reverse that. Maybe more incentives is the way, but I still believe a proper charging network is going to be key. Ireland is unlikely to pursue the UK government's proposal to ban smoking in outdoor pubs and restaurants. Would you be in favour of this, a ban on smoking in outdoor spaces? Tánaiste Micheál Martin, who introduced the workplace smoking ban in 2004, is not in favour of the plan, a spokesperson confirmed. Last week, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he would back proposals to ban smoking in outdoor hospitality areas, stadiums, children's parks and areas near hospitals and universities. So no smoking, no vaping, presumably in and around a football stadium, in and around a pub, in and around, your park where children are, around hospitals and universities as well. Obviously, it's in 2004 we became the first country to ban smoking indoors, and it was, in fairness to Micheál Martin, it was he that introduced it. Keir Starmer's had a lot of resistance to his proposals. People think it's a bit of an overreach, but what do you think? 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number here on the 9 till noon show. Right, let us take a quick break. Back with more very shortly.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Here's to the good stuff. The dip in the sea, the run after work, the catch up with friends, the come back to ours, the Kerrygold butter that spreads straight from the fridge for hot buttered toast or a build your own sandwich, the chat round the table, the sharing of plates, of news and of tales, and the taste that means everything. Kerrygold spreadable butter, straight from the fridge. Kerrygold. May your table always be full.
Every visit to the Virgin Media Playhouse brings amazing offers. Like 500 meg superfast reliable broadband for just €35 a month for 12 months, with no activation fee. And that's just for starters. Discover more at virginmedia.ie and switch today. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband. €70 thereafter.
Keep out the cold, and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
What would you do if you won €10,000 in our mega summer draw?
Oh, I'd be going holiday. I would probably put it towards a new car.
I could probably build a swimming pool in the backyard for all this good weather I've been getting.
I'd definitely think about investing it on myself. The hair, the makeup. God, Guam would even get a call.
Get your tickets now on highlandradio.com. There are still 2 chances to win $2,500 with the main draw for a whopping €10,000 taking place on the 6th of September on the 9 till noon show. Don't miss out on your chance to win big in our mega summer draw. Woohoo!
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, the time now is at 9:21 and you're very welcome back to the programme. Really pleased to welcome on to it Sinn Féin's spokesperson on finance, Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty. Good morning to you, Piers. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a million, Greg.
I do appreciate it. Okay, so this is... I suppose this is the big one, isn't it? That I suppose people have been waiting to see for quite some time. It's your party's plan to make housing affordable and to bring home ownership back into reach for working people. So I suppose, how do you see this, or how does your party see this happening?
Yeah, well, look, I think everybody knows across the state the disaster that housing is. Whether it's people that are waiting for social housing, council housing, those that are paying extortionate rents, and we've seen rents, go through the roof even over the last 4 years of this government. House prices are going up about 10%. About average house prices are going up to about €25,000 per year. And as I said yesterday, like I've got young children, as many of your listeners will as well. Like, and I genuinely fear. I have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old at home, and I fear what will happen if we have a continuation of this government, because with house prices going where they are, like, how many young people have the opportunity to own their own home? And we have horrible statistics. Like, the average age now of somebody owning their own home is 39 years of age. And just think about that. Like, a lot of people delay starting a family until they have a home, and all of the issues that causes. So our plan is a radically different approach to the government's failures. It's about putting significant amount of our resources, our investment into housing. It's delivering 300,000 homes over the next 5 years. It's the biggest scale and the biggest ambition that any political party has ever shown in the history of the state. It delivers 125,000 social, affordable, state-provided homes. And on top of that, it facilitates the delivery of 175,000 private homes. Some of those will be self-builds and all that, which are particularly important for the likes of Donegal. For renters, it freezes rents for the next 3 years and puts a month's rent back into your pocket. For people who want affordable housing, who maybe earn too much to get a council house, but don't have the type of money that allows you to buy the prices that are in the market at the minute. We have a scheme that allows house prices to be reduced by anything from €150,000 down, and that's through the state actually providing for the land and which the house is built on.
So how does that look like then? And Donegal County Council would be responsible to a great extent in delivering this in Donegal. So locally, how many houses might be delivered here? How do we not know that a lot of these properties might be delivered down the country, because we are speaking in the northwest here. So from day one, what starts happening from a Donegal perspective?
So from day one, and that's the key with this plan. This isn't a plan which takes a couple of years to think about, and all the rest. The work is done, so we start delivering from day one. So we make the money available, and look, in the next government, I make no bones about it, I want to be the Minister for Finance, which releases the funds to end the housing crisis. So from day one, there's an assessment of needs in relation to all of the counties. So it's about what type of housing that we need in Donegal as part of this plan. Once those type of homes are approved, like at the minute, if you want a council house, you have to go through about 15 different stages. We're cutting a lot of that out. That's a lot of the problem, Greg. It's red tape and all the rest. So once your housing need is identified and it's approved by the department, that's what you already approved from stage one, so you can go to planning permission. So part of that will be looking at what is the need in terms of the county, in terms of social housing, but also affordable housing. So in year one, we plan to deliver 4,000 affordable houses. Now, just put that in context. In any given year, the amount of homes that come on the private market for sale for individuals, because remember, it's the vulture funds that buy most of these homes, but for individuals, it's about between €8,000 and €9,000. So see all the sound bites from Simon Harris and all the spin from government. When you actually deal with the fact the number of private homes coming onto the market is actually stagnated over the last 5 years. They haven't increased. The number of homes that are being built is increasing, but it's not first-time.
It's about who buys them. It's about whether it's individuals or housing bodies or investors.
So what we don't want is, and this is the massive different approach from government, if you look at what's happening in the major cities at the moment, which most of the construction is taking place, like I think it's about 90% of all homes in Dublin City are bought by institutional investors. They're not bought, they're not for sale. They're all apartments. Only 5% of apartments come onto sale to the general public. We want to stop that. Ireland is not for sale. We're not going to do what Fine Gael has done, which is allow the institutional investors to come in here to buy up these properties and rent them out at extortionate, eye-watering prices, and then pay no tax on the rent that they get. That day is over under Sinn Féin, and that's the beauty about this here. People are going to have a real choice in terms of whether they want to continue with a system that, in every single indicator, like, you know, the cost of student accommodation, like the cost of student accommodation in Donegal is eye-watering, never mind Dublin and Galway. And many people, you know, and I'm sure they're coming on to your show, Greg, they're talking about that they've got places in Galway, places in Dublin. They're not sure if they're going to be able to take up those places because they can't find accommodation.
As you rightly referenced there, the majority of house building at the moment is going on in more urban areas. But, you know, people listening to us today, the amount of young families, single mothers that are getting letters through their door from landlords saying, you know, we're putting the rent up, we need you out because my son's taking the home, or whatever it might be. It's huge. I get contacts from well over a dozen at this point, so I'm sure you could multiply that by a factor. Again, it's about how will houses be delivered here in County Donegal?
So let me deal with 2 points in that there. First of all, the evictions. People, what's called no-fault evictions. So see somebody who's acting in MAGA, somebody who's involved in antisocial behaviour, not paying their rent and all the rest, they should be evicted after, you know, the process should take place. No landlord should be having to tolerate that if somebody is in that type of vein. What we're talking about here is, in the main, and what you've suggested, is people who are paying their rent, who are good tenants, who haven't done anything wrong and are getting evicted. And we've got serious amount of people in that situation, and the problem is they've nowhere to go. These are families that are becoming homeless in the next number of weeks. We're an outlier here, Greg, and I don't expect your listeners to know this, because we're just busy getting on with our own life. Across Europe, you're not allowed to evict people in what's called no-fault eviction if they haven't done anything wrong. England, Britain and Ireland are the only two countries, I think, in Europe that actually allows this to happen. And what's Labour Party doing in Britain? They're going to actually ban the practice. So as part of this plan, we are going to ban no-fault evictions as well, so that landlords will not be able to throw you out of their home if you have done nothing wrong. And we need a proper rental sector. It works in other countries. It works in Spain, France, Germany, Italy. It works everywhere else. Why can't it work here? And that's the difference of approach. It's about us making sure that we're on the side of tenants.
So just in relation to that, what then is to stop landlords, and a lot of landlords in this part of the county aren't international investors or whatever it might be. They'll just go, you know what, you froze my rent. I can't evict someone out of my own property if I want to. I'm just going to sell up. So we lose the rental capacity. We already have a very small amount that people could sort of shop around within. So just in this one area alone, Pierce, there's a lot of landlords just ready to pull the trigger anyway. They'll say, "Stuff this, you know. I'm gonna go short term let before Sinn Féin get into power."
Well, first of all, a couple of points there. First of all, under our proposals, landlords will still be able to evict people if there is reasons for evictions. If they will still be able to sell their property, but they'll have to sell their property like every other country with the tenant in it. You can't evict to sell the property. So they're able to still dispose of the property as they wish. Many of the landlords are selling up because they are getting prices for their homes that they've never seen before. Like, we are at peak prices here. This is just runaway stuff. Like, you know, I put this to the Minister for Public Expenditure, Pascal Donoghue, yesterday on the radio. €25,000 house prices increase next year. If they get another 5 years on the trajectory, house prices will go up another €125,000. Like, where does this end? Where does the madness end? And this is why landlords are selling up, because they're getting these type of.
So really, then part of this plan then is to flatten the market.
Absolutely. Like, you know, when I argue with government about bringing in a rent freeze, they say that's wrong. Why? Because they want rent. They believe that rents should continue.
But
to go up.
freezing rents at €1,900 in Buncrana. I mean, it's the horse is bolted and the gates being closed.
Absolutely, and that's why we need to put a month's rent back into renters' pockets. And what we want, and we make no bones about this here, we want rents to go down. We want rents to go down. And how are we going to do that? We're going to deliver a cost rental scheme, which will allow for people to rent, including in the likes of our cities, for prices below €1,000, and we're going to do that through long-term finances, and we've outlined it in our document. Our document is over 109 pages long or something like that there, with minute detail in terms of how we're actually going to do it.
I get you. So how do we deliver, just back to it, and I think this, I'm not saying you're avoiding the question, but it's the third time getting at it. How do we deliver houses in Donegal? What's the council going to do to deliver houses? Because one of the biggest problems to development in this county at the moment is our crappy infrastructure. In terms of, you know, problems getting access onto certain roads, sewerage, access to public water. These are a lot of the barriers to development in this county as it is. So what does your plan do to address the infrastructure to facilitate this building work?
Well, that's the key about it, because it's not just in terms of those council houses, but it's also in terms of private houses. And when we meet with developers, when we meet builders, and we met with serious local authorities as well, they're the issues that they want unlocked, and all of that is contained within our plan. So, for example, far faster decisions in terms of planning laid down in statutory law, which means, you know, legal timeframes in relation to decisions both at council level and at a board planning level. Additional money and investment for infrastructure delivery, so like the likes of Irish Water, to make sure that we have the water to connect. Master plans in areas so that there's a joined up approach in relation to this. You don't have to go to a 15-stage process to get approval for a council house. We reduce it to 4 steps to make sure that actually there's a speedy up process. I have a council development, well, it's about to go ahead, it'll break ground hopefully next month here in Gweedore, 29 houses. That's been stalled for years. Much of the reasons why that has been stalled is some of it's to do with Irish Water, some of it's to do with the department, some of it's to do with inflation, and then when the prices go up, you have to go right back to the start again. And it is just madness in the middle of a housing crisis, when in this same parish, I'm dealing with cases at the minute where I don't know if a number of families are going to be homeless by the time the month's out or not. And that's, you know, so we're going to cut through all of this stuff. We also are going to introduce emergency planning powers, which allows for infill 1,000 houses in infill gardens. So this would be like estates and stuff like that there, which have houses already, and there might be a place where you can get an additional house in, and this would be particularly housing for our over 55s, and we're going to use emergency planning powers to actually allow for those houses to be.
What about people in that built-up area that sounds like a housing estate area? Will they have the ability to object to that, the residents of that space?
First of all, you're talking about an infill position, so these would be in a situation where you have like a council house and estate, and that there's a kind of space there for an additional house. So you'd be using emergency planning powers. And
so locals wouldn't have a right to object to that in that housing estate?
There would be a consultation, but not the same. You're not going to say through the same process in relation to that. And you're talking about a single house in this scenario, and it would be designated for.
I know, but it's obviously significant enough that it forms part of this plan, so it's not insignificant.
But what we're doing in this here, Greg, is we're going to try to end homelessness on the over 55s within 1 year. Now, you don't need 1,000 of these homes to actually end homelessness for over 55s, but what some people who are over the age of 55 in council houses want is they want to move to a more size appropriated house. So they want to move from maybe a 3-bedroom, which they had when they were raising a family, to a smaller house. And by doing that, you're making available.
So how do you compel or encourage, or whatever the phraseology is, Irish Water to get the infrastructure into areas that it's required in? Because currently at the moment, much of our work on this programme is trying to get them to actually get water to places where people already live. And this is going to be a very important part of actual housing delivery. So how do you compel Irish Water to say, right, the infrastructure in Buncrana is such that we can't provide these 40 houses? You know, what are you going to, what's the time frame for getting Irish Water? Like, I just don't see how that works. So I'm pleased for the education.
It's an excellent question. So this is the difference here. The difference is no party has a plan that bar Sinn Féin now that looks beyond today, tomorrow, the next year at the most. And so therefore, Irish Water has no idea what is going to happen on Buncrana in the next 3, 4, 5 years. They have no idea. So they don't know where they have to prioritise the infrastructure. That's the difference about this plan. This is a 5-year plan. This is a term of government plan, which starts on day one, but ramps up housing delivery over the years. and therefore looks at a joined up approach in relation to the council identifying the need, where we're going to build, and therefore the infrastructure flows from it through the connection between planning, infrastructure delivery, the department itself, and a whole of government response. But it's not just in relation to, like, there's many areas that are serviced. Let's be clear about this here, and so it's not all just Irish Water. There's a lot of land hoarding going on as well, remember. There's people who aren't developing land that needs to be developed land. We start from this point, and the point is that if we get the opportunity to be in government, if I'm Minister for Finance, there is absolutely no way we're going to allow for this.
So say, for instance, just using Buncrana for an example, say, for instance, there is a patch of land, and this has already been identified, right, that is ripe for development, but it's a farmer's land or it's in private ownership, right, but it is there just right on the edge of Buncrana and could provide 40, 50, 60 houses. Are you saying that your party will compel that landowner, because at the moment they're sort of being taxed into encouraging, well, not quite there yet, but the plan is to tax them into freeing it up, right? Are you saying that your party would compel that landowner or that farmer to make that property available for public housing?
No, not necessarily public housing.
Private housing.
It can be any type of housing. So two parts of that. First of all, you mentioned farmers. We led the charge in relation to this year, where the government brought forward their tax on service site lands. We said there's an issue in terms of farmers. Actually, the example that we gave, it's interesting, over and over again in terms of questions, was a farmer from Inishowen in the Dáil. And Pascal Donoghue says, nothing to see here. Ministers changed, Michael McGrath again wouldn't listen to us. Okay. We put forward an amendment.
So if it's not farmers' land, just say it's someone's land.
Let me take it. So whether it's Buncrana, whether it's in Galway, or whether it's in Dublin at the M50, which most of this big land is in the first instance, if you're sitting on serviced land and you're not developing it for housing, then yes, you not only will you be taxed, but the tax will increase year on year. The point I was making earlier on is this here: we either recognise that we're an emergency or not, and I believe that we're absolutely an emergency. It is absolutely crucifying when you have a family sitting across you. I have 3 families at the minute. Craig, just let me tell you this here, because this could be anybody. These are people who are working, who've raising kids. One of the children went to school recently, doesn't even know of the situation. These are families from this area, who've lived in this area, and who could be homeless in the next number of weeks. I am not standing over this here. This plan can sort this out.
I get you, but a lot of it is a lot of it is, to me, it sounds like a lot of faith in Irish Water that many people don't have, Ishgaren, or whatever people want to call it. Potentially, putting extra properties in built-up areas that maybe the locals may not want, and maybe an overreach into people's private property to tax and effectively compel them to free it up for housing. It sounds, it's quite, I don't know, is the word authoritarian? I don't know. It sounds like, powerful stuff. The delivery of this is going to, a lot of feet are going to be trampled on. As you say, we're in an emergency, and maybe the general population believe that's justifiable. But there's a big reach in here into people's private property in terms of what they do with it for rental, people's private land in terms of wanting it for development, and, any gaps in some housing, let's stick a house in there and we'll consult you, but we need that house to relieve homelessness amongst the over 55s. It's tough stuff.
First of all, I think some of that is not a fair representation.
Well, that's why you're here. You can say whatever I got wrong, of course.
And you're giving me that opportunity to do that. But this does require serious measures. So the biggest step here is for this one. 39 billion euro is going to be made available to actually deliver these homes. The government have a different view. The government's view is that this money, these surpluses that we're making, billions of euro every year, should be locked away for 20 years. We're saying no, the emergency's here, right now. We're going to use that money now. The second thing is, the major problem here isn't just about somebody with a piece of land in the edge of Buncrana, which won't come into play in the main scheme of things. The main problem here is serious landowners or serious hoarders in relation to land that are speculating and looking at these prices going up. We had an approved housing body, right? These are
and I think too, just to be clear on that, there are people that got in very early very influential, powerful people getting exemptions in terms of the land tax. I presume you're somewhat referencing that as well. They almost as if they were it's almost as if they were forewarned because they were able to get exemptions on some of this land that was being taxed.
So yeah, and look, the problem here, like as I was saying, these kind of social housing bodies who are looking to build council houses and want to buy land and all that, they told the government like 5 years ago that these big landowners, massive landowners, are just sitting on the land because it's more profitable for them to look at the price of that land increasing every year. So as I said, like house prices have increased in Dublin by 10%, 8% in the rest of the country over the last year under Fine Gael. So speculation is massive. It is like there is huge profiteering in this here. And who's paying the price for it? It's the parents that have to pay for the student accommodation. It's the kids who don't have a future here and are now in Australia. It is the 4,000 children plus that are in emergency accommodation, 14,000 people. It is people who don't feel that they have a future. That has to stop. So the main part of it here, Greg, is we have about 90,000 planning permissions across the state. Like, it's not about taking land from somebody or for it. The main thing is activating
getting them through. Who's building these houses? Because at the moment, I think you referenced a development in your part of the world whereby, and we've seen it elsewhere, private contractors in dispute with the council. There had been some there'd been an agreement to build these houses, but prices and there's inflation, and then they back and forward. And I've spoken to on the air and had communications off the air with private developers who are saying, stuff this. We can go into the north, and if you drive through the north, you do see a lot of houses being built, it would seem. We can go into the north, we don't have to quabble or argue with the council. They'll pay us, what the property is worth at the time it's completed. You will need to be working with these people to deliver these houses. So how will you ensure that this money that they have to invest or the resources they have to invest will be done in Donegal, for an example, but obviously you want to broaden it out to a national?
Well, the first thing is the state also has to get good value for money. And the best way of getting good value for money is actually making sure that the house is delivered in a timely fashion. So when we have a situation where a developer is looking at building council houses and it's taken 5 years later, that the prices are all changed. Look, we've had a situation during the crisis here, during the inflation crisis, where developers are saying the prices have dramatically changed. We need to look at it. The whole process has to go back to the very, very start, to the approval of the project. Like, it is just nonsense, and it delays the whole thing and it puts up the cost further. There are developers here or builders here in Donegal, not far from me, who have been for the last number of years wanting to build social housing in an area where we need massive social housing, but because of red tape, they can't get approval. What does that mean? It means that the council have already approved some other land, and until that land is developed, which is not going to be developed, then they can't allow this developer to develop the houses that is needed. We have met with developers, big and small, builders big and small, in approved housing bodies. Some of them have told us, Greg, that they've had to lay people off. During a housing emergency crisis. Why? Because they don't have the pipeline or certainty of projects. So absolutely, the key thing that people need
speeding the process up limits the inflation from planning to completion. But there are other things too there, like Help to Buy, the vacant property grant. We have the biggest uptake in the country of it here. First home scheme. You're going to unwind all of those, are you not? Is that the plan? That's what the government claim you're going to do.
Yeah, look, great sound bites coming from the government because they've got nothing else to offer in terms of housing. So let's take the vacancy, for example. So we've actually argued that the vacant property grant needs to be changed, and what we need to do is give upfront payments, because many of the people who actually who are applying for this, who want to do up a vacant home, the problem that they have is that they can't get the cash to do it. It's fine being able to get €70,000, but where do you get the money to do that plus the house in the meantime?
So you'll keep that one going.
We want stage payments in relation to the Help to Buy.
Just in relation to that vacant property grant, are you including in this? Because for me, it's a no-brainer that and it would be really good for urban Ireland. So say, for instance, there was a 3-storey building in Letterkenny, that someone could draw that grant down 3 times to deliver 3 units of accommodation. Would that not be a positive move that would help in that sort of environment deliver more accommodation?
No, because first of all, like, if you're in a business and so there in that scenario you're probably talking about rents, renting out as a business. Like you're a business, you're a landowner, you're not a single landowner, you're not an accidental landowner in relation to that. Most of that work that you're doing in your property can be offset in relation to your taxable income. But Greg, under Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, half the landlords in the country pay no tax whatsoever, none whatsoever. Like this is. Most people don't see this stuff because it happens in the finance, but the government gave the landlords another €160 million of tax breaks last year. The department's official, I have the correspondence, not one person in the department supported this. They were all saying that this will mean more landlords will pay no tax whatsoever. So there are ways where if you're a business, you can offset.
I get you. Okay, I understand. Just in terms of this delivery, right? For a lot of people, we can't afford pensions. We can't afford life insurance. We can't afford, not life insurance, sorry, health insurance and stuff. And really what we see as our investment or anything that we might have to lean back on is, the 3 or 4 bedroom bungalow that we paid up for our entire life. And you look at it now and you say, right, if I wanted to sell that to sort of get some cash together, it might be worth, 280 or something like that, right? Does your plan not drive the cost or the value of all of that stuff down? Because obviously, if rents are stuck at 1,000 and houses are being delivered, at 250,000, does that not drag the entire value of people's property down with it?
Well, first of all, what you're trying to do is you're trying to actually reduce the cost of new building. So the main thing that you're trying to do actually, because you can't force the builders to build something at a loss. So what you're trying to do is actually take away the costs in relation to it. So the land hoarding becomes a thing of the past, which means land becomes cheaper for the builders to actually build on. You start taking away some of the pressures in terms of the concrete tax levy and in terms of other costs, the cost and saving in time and all of that. So you actually make it cheaper for them to actually build in the first place. And you're talking about driving down house prices in terms of the cost of house prices. Greg, we're very clear in this here. The government, again, and this is the beauty about politics because there's choice, government want house prices to go up. We're saying house prices need to come down. House prices in the private sector will only come down to what is affordable. They won't come down less than what it costs to actually build them. So what we're doing in this plan is about trying to remove the obstacles that builders have in relation to the costs that make up house building. But for a portion of the population, we recognise that there's 3 different categories of housing. One, people want a private home. They'll be able to afford a private home, and we want to try and make that more affordable for them. 2, people will rely on council housing because they have no means to actually have other housing. And then there's a gap in the middle where people are earning too much for council housing but can't afford the houses on the market. And that's why we're intervening.
Yeah, but two nurses, their combined income doesn't qualify them, though, for that affordable sort of midsection.
It absolutely does. And Darrell Bryan has been spouting nonsense in relation to this here. And it just shows you how out of touch and desperate they are. A nurse's starting salary is €35,000, Greg. 2 nurses is €70,000. They well easily qualify for this here. See, the problem with Darrell Bryan is if you're under Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, the average age you are, according to the Central Statistic Office, when you purchase your first home is 39 years of age. It's a disgrace. It's a disaster. Home ownership has fallen under this government. We're not going to tolerate that. We want young people to be able to purchase their own home again, not when they're at 0.10 in the nursing scale where they might be earning a bit more. We want people who are in their late 20s to be able to, early 30s to be able to buy their first home again. And therefore, absolutely, your nurse, your guard and all that, your teacher will be able to afford these houses will be right for these houses. And obviously, defective block plays a big part in terms of our scheme as well, in relation to our commitment of an end-to-end
Just one thing about confuses me about that is that, you want to back homeowners, and most people up here would certainly agree, and you would concede that I think that the cap needs to be increased and people need absolutely 100% redress. And you're talking about delivering houses for what, 250 to what, 319, or what's the actual average delivery price? I mean, obviously some of them will be delivered at half price, but what is the average delivery cost of a property?
So you can take a property, because these properties aren't just your average properties. These are social homes, so they're a certain size and scale. So the average cost of delivering a council house across the state is €327,000. That's the department.
Yeah, so that's much less than the cap for that's much less than the cap for defective concrete. So why can't you deliver the reparation or the repair or I think really the majority of these houses are going to have to be replaced. Why can't you sort of do you feel that you'll be able to deliver those houses at the same kind of a cost?
So two parts to that there. The size of a social home compared to the size of an average home in the state, not just Donegal, but the entire state is very different. Okay, so the square foot cost would be probably maybe the same. There's also a cost in relation to demolition, which has to be factored in. But look, the point is really well. So our scheme is completely different from the government. We're stopping that nightmare. You can see Paddy Diver, who's building his home at the minute, and he's got videos up, and Paddy's got experience in terms of construction. He's managing his own product. Like, God help if that was my mother or somebody else, they wouldn't have a clue what to do. No harm to me mum, she's brilliant, but like, it's not fair. So our scheme, it does what the pirate scheme did, is the state comes in, builds the house from start to finish, manage the product, and we do it at scale. We do it not by one individual tendering a price and going to a contractor. We do it in scale in terms
deliver,
of
presumably then to deliver better value for money to the taxpayer.
The costs as well.
Okay.
But more important, it actually provides the 100% because you don't have to put your hand in your pocket to get your house rebuilt, and it also provides value for money, and it also takes that pressure off people in terms of, will I be able to actually manage this project, or when a builder tells me, do I need this or not?
Well, there's a lot of people not going near it because they can't take that on if the truth is told. All right, listen, thanks for so much for your time this morning. Deputy Pearse Doherty, thank you. He is Sinn Féin's finance spokesperson.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. The Donegal Cheviot and Cheviot Cross Breeders Group will hold their annual sale of Cheviot Mules, Suffolk Cross Cheviots and Cheviot Cross Black Face Hogget Ewes and Ewe Lambs this Friday the 6th at Stranorlar Mart. The sale is online on the Mart I app at 6 p.m. with a viewing from 3 p.m. That's the Donegal Cheviot Cross Breeders Group sale this Friday. This ad is kindly sponsored by Lynch Brothers Northwest Plant Hire Limited, Linsford, Buncrana.
Hey, what do you think? The National Planning Framework is being revised, and this is your chance to join the conversation. The National Planning Framework is the overarching policy and planning strategy for Ireland's social, economic and cultural development. You can share your opinions and suggestions on the revisions by post or through our online consultation portal. For all the information you need, visit npf.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
For strong, unique, weather-resistant homes, choose Cedral Exteriors. Our fibre cement roof slates and wall cladding ranges are built to last for generations, exceeding EU quality standards. Members of Guaranteed Irish, our products are locally made and beautifully designed, offering long-term peace of mind. Visit cedral.ie. Cedral Exteriors. Strength guaranteed.
Imagine a wedding venue that can be hired exclusively for you and your guests. Picture stunning views overlooking one of Donegal's most scenic beaches, an authentic country manor as your accommodation, incredible glass-fronted marquee views all day, and a team of experts who want to help you plan every step of the way. Sounds too good to be true? Not at Drumhalla House in Rathmullen. It really has to be seen to be believed. Visit drumhallahouse.ie or check out Drumhalla House on Instagram for more details.
You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie. The Aer Lingus September sale is now on. Get up to 30% off flights to Europe and Britain. Soak up some winter sun or explore some of Europe's most charming cities. The choice is yours with 2 million seats on sale. But hurry, sale ends September 16th. Book now at airlingus.com. T's and C's apply.
Searching for your perfect match? Then visit the Northwest Matchmaking Festival at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran, from Friday the 27th of September to Saturday the 5th of October. 9 days of non-stop dancing with top acts including Mike Denver, Jimmy Buckley, Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, Johnny Brady, Michael English, Robert Mazzell and many, many more. Find that someone special with blind dates and speed dating occurring throughout the festival. For booking options, go to the AllinghamArmsHotel.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Support local at McElhenney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet.
Okay, the weather forecast for today, I can tell you that. Where is it? It'll be cloudy today with scattered showers of rain or drizzle and occasional sunny intervals. The best of the sunshine likely this evening. Temperatures 15 to 17 degrees. But hold your horses, because as we head towards the weekend, the temperature is going to rise. We're going to get nicer weather. So it should be actually really quite pleasant here for the weekend. So looking forward to that. And also looking forward to Friday morning, by the way. We are broadcasting live from Ongrianon Theatre for Irish Music Month. We've got 4 fabulous acts performing 3 songs each. We're going to have Jimmy and Paul there. We're going to be having a draw for €10,000. And you can go and be in the audience if you wish. Listen, we're not expecting to fill the place out. We don't even know how many people might choose to turn up, but we're in the theatre, so we thought we'll give you the option. Go to Ongrianon's website, book your tickets for free, and you can come along and at the very least see a live broadcast in action, but also see some cracking live music as well. So that's a show live from Ongrianon this Saturday morning from 9. You can get free tickets right now at Ongrianon Theatre. Go to their website and book the tickets. It'd be great to see you there. What does it say? That's a by the by. We're going to be doing a great radio show, but hey, if you can be there, why not be there? Go to Ongrianon, book your tickets. Back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
The big end of summer sale is on now at Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Get massive discounts on selected rugs, sofas, beds and dining room furniture. Also on cushions, mirrors, artworks, lighting, paint and so much more. Transform your home with stylish finds at unbeatable prices. But hurry, because these deals won't last. Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, where your dream home begins. Sale ends soon. Visit foys.ie for details.
Join Home Instead and make a difference in older people's lives. Home Instead Hiring Week is Monday the 2nd to Friday the 6th of September. For event details or to apply now, visit homeinstead.ie.
Home Instead, to us it's personal.
The Loganair September sale is now on. Fly from City of Derry Airport and save up to 15% off over 1 million seats across the Loganair network. Book by 6 p.m. on 8th September. Travel from 1st October. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Visit loganair.co.uk. Use promo code SEPT15. Loganair. Your journey, our joy.
On September 12th, something big is starting at iMotors. Mark your calendars. You won't want to miss this event. Tell your wife, iMotors. Tell your husband, iMotors. Tell your neighbours, iMotors.
We love Irish music, and we want to show our support for the movers, the makers and the shakers. Right through Irish Music Month this September, join Highland Radio in celebrating those who make every party, every drive, and every day simply magic. Buy Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts, and Irish music merch direct from the musicians themselves. Let's support Irish Music Month. Let's buy Irish. Irish Music Month. Irish radio supporting Irish artists with IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission Amon Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the television licence fee.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. Sinn Féin is pledging to spend €39 billion on transforming the housing market if elected to government. The opposition promises to deliver affordable homes, which costs €250,000 under the new housing policy. The party finance spokesperson, Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty, explained the housing proposal on this morning's 9 till noon show. He says the plan deals with obstacles to development, such as infrastructure, which will be of benefit to counties such as Donegal.
You don't have to go to a 15-stage process to get approval for a council house. We reduce it to 4 steps to make sure that actually there's a speedy up process. I have a council development, it's about to go ahead. It'll break ground hopefully next month here in Gweedore. 29 houses. That's been stalled for years. Much of the reasons why that has been stalled is some of it's to do with Irish Water, some of it's to do with the department, some of it's to do with inflation, and then when the prices go up, you have to go right back to the start again. And it is just madness in the middle of a housing crisis when in this same parish, I'm dealing with cases at the minute where I don't know if a number of families are going to be homeless by the time the month's out or not.
A man has died in a single vehicle collision in County Derry. The 35-year-old was the driver and sole occupant of a blue Vauxhall Astra, which collided with a tree after it left the Agivy Road in Kilrea at around 8:40 p.m. last night. The road was closed for a time but has since reopened. PSNI are now appealing for information which could assist their inquiries. A full review of the bike shelter controversy at Leinster House is going to be carried out. A shelter for 18 bikes was constructed at a cost of €336,000. The Minister for the OPW has requested a review be carried out into why it costs so much money. Taoiseach Simon Harris is welcoming this, saying the public deserves answers.
This is the sort of thing that rightly angers and annoys people, and it angers and annoys me as well. Because yes, workplaces should provide somewhere to park the bike, grand, but they shouldn't do it in a manner that is lavish or extortionate in relation to the public person.
6 kittens who were found dumped in a sealed bag are said to be improving. The felines were discovered inside a carrier bag in Letterkenny, which had been tied closed. They were transferred to the care of Animals in Need Donegal. The incident happened 2 months less than 11 puppies were found dumped in a bag in Letterkenny, only which 3 have survived. The outcome for the kittens, however, appears to be more positive, with 5 coming out virtually unscathed, while 1 kitten's eye has been permanently damaged. Parents are said to be less involved in their children's online lives than they used to be, according to new research. A quarter of primary school children have been upset by harmful content online, according to Cyber Safe Kids' annual report. A fifth of secondary school students have been affected. Justice Minister Helen McEntee says the online world is one of the biggest challenges of our generation.
We also need to make sure that we're engaging with our young people through our schools, through education programmes, and in any way possible to make sure that children themselves are engaging in appropriate behaviour, but also that they know how to protect themselves and how they, how they can respond and best deal with things that they see online. But it's a really challenging space, it's a really moving and dynamic environment.
More than 250,000 children experience deprivation here in Ireland. The Children's Right Alliance's almost 60,000 suffer deep and damaging poverty, which could be life-threatening. The charity's chief executive, Tanya Ward, says they're calling for Budget 2025 to be a children's budget.
If children live through this, it really leaves lifelong consequences for them. And I suppose we want to see the government introduce universal measures that will help with the cost of living, but also target those children most in need in the next budget. This is a very important budget this year because it comes in the run-up to a general election, which is likely to happen in the next 6 months.
The United Nations says its first day of polio vaccinations in Gaza has reached more than 87,000 children. Israel has agreed to limit pauses in fighting to allow medics to work for 3 days. The first case of polio in Gaza in 25 years was reported recently. Now, for weather, it will be mostly cloudy today with scattered showers of rain or drizzle and occasionally sunny intervals. The best of the sunshine is likely for this evening. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in moderate northwest winds. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. I'll be back with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, September 3rd. The death has taken place of Mary Ellen Gillespie, née Burney, 230 Lower Mount Marion, Milford, reposing at her home from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. today and from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. tomorrow. Requiem Mass on Thursday at 11 a.m. in St. Peter's Church, Milford, burial afterwards in Milford Cemetery. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Joe O'Hagan, Mina Lubin, Linsford, Buncrana. Joe's remains will be reposing at his late residence from 11 o'clock today. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:15, going to Star of the Sea Church, Desert Tegney, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. House private from 11 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Porter Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Stella Quinn, née McDyer, Mullenty Boyle, Glenties. Stella's remains will repose at her late residence until 10 p.m. tonight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St. Connell's Church, Glenties, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Donegal Hospice, care of James McGuinness and Sons Funeral Directors or any family member. The death has occurred of Patricia McBurty, Church Street, St. Johnston. Patricia's remains are reposing at her late residence. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. Funeral cortege will be leaving Church Street, St. Johnston at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, going to St. Baithan's Church, St. Johnston for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Richard Boner, known as Shannon, of Calham Convoy. A service of thanksgiving for the life of Shannon will take place at Terence McClintock's funeral home, Ballybow Convoy, today at 2 p.m, followed by burial in Gortley Cemetery, Letterkenny, at approximately 3 p.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Dyslexia Ireland, care of Terence McClintock Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Hubert Reynolds, 6 Coastguard Station, Greencastle. Remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 p.m. funeral service in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by interment in the Ballybrack graveyard. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Gach blian, fáin hart ar 2,600 duine in Éireann ailse podóige. Chuidín scag hostel podóige le do risca ailse podóige all a laidú. Inis, má tá tú idir 50 agus 60 déit fa chlórú le haig trealamh tastáil le bellscreen balla, séir an aisce. Agus an tastáil déanta agat, seolar as le séir fust agus béimi de jangwa leat. Chlórí iniu ag bellscreen.ie nó séirglé, a héana hook de nád dada cuig quaig a cuig. O HSE.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Coming up very shortly, we're going to be joined in studio by Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from Buncrana Garda Station, where you'll get the very latest appeals and information first here on Highland Radio from An Garda Síochána. But so much interest in the first hour on the text and phone lines. Really appreciate it. Caller says, landlords are being spoken about like a dirty word. These people made an investment. So should these people not make profit? Forcing people to sell land or not allow them to sell houses with evictions seems like taking away the owner's rights, and I feel will just stop people wanting to rent long term, which is a concern I know is out there, and I tried to put that to Deputy Doherty. Piers Doherty doesn't know what he's chatting about. I'm a landlord paying more than he gets paid every year. Another, so why are the government okay as ying millions to house from foreign nationals? I presume that's what that says. People, there's just some letters missing on that, so send it through and I'll read it properly. People are on the edge of a cliff at this stage and they cannot see that they're about to topple over into our regulation or over-regulation, similar to China. As a non-smoker, I find it ridiculous. Imagine telling people what they can do outside now and everyone accepts it. Madness. Big pushback on that in Britain. No plans for it here in the Republic. What is Sinn Féin's standpoint on people not being able to build on their own land? That's an interesting one. I would like to have got that position on record. Hi, Greg. Regarding Sinn Féin's affordable housing for first-time buyers, they state that individuals must qualify for finance from a financial institution. This eliminates anyone who has a credit rating issue as a result of the 2008 crash. This disqualifies a large number of people. The council mortgage scheme currently is a joke. I was told by the person responsible for the scheme in Lifford that there was no point in me applying, despite both my wife and I having well-paid civil servants jobs in permanent contracts, on the basis that the scheme is more difficult to qualify for than a private bank mortgage system. Hi, Greg. It sounds like Sinn Féin doesn't want home ownership. It wants home borrowing and home rental. Sounds very like you'll own nothing and be happy as predicted by the World Economic Forum 2030 predictions. The words you were looking for is not just overreach, it's out and out communism. He can twist his words any way he pleases. The results are the same. Sadly, people will be convinced because of the desperation to get homes and think this is a great idea. Leave farmers' land alone. Go after the developers or vulture funds who are hoarding for profit. And in fairness, the deputy did say that they are against taking farmers' lands, and it is actually the developers and vulture funds that they are targeting. Where is the workforce coming for these houses? Also, why should inheritance tax be around when people are left houses from family members? There's very few at the moment would have to pay inheritance tax in Donegal. Most of the properties in this county are below the threshold, but I take your point. Secondly, in relation to who's going to build the houses, well, Deputy Doherty claims contractors are having to lay workers off because the work isn't there for them. So I presume that's part of their solution. Sinn Féin promises on housing mean very little when they support open borders. Sinn Féin jumping on the bandwagon, putting a plaster on a large wound despite their party dropping continuously in recent polls, says a listener. Another, nobody wants to admit the truth is that mass immigration is fueling the housing crisis. We must realise that is the policy of mass immigration, which is at the root cause of the housing crisis. I mean, I think that's I think that's giving the government a pass in a way. It's not giving them a pass in terms of, or any future government in terms of their immigration policy. But listen, the housing crisis has been with us long before what might be described as the recent influx of people into the area. I certainly think it's having a significant impact on the rental markets in Donegal, no doubt about that. But across the country, is that the root cause? I don't know. Maybe it is. Why is it Ukrainians are going into property rent-free? The rent's being paid for them, and most of these people are working. If you work, you should pay your rent. Did Pearce say Ireland is not for sale? I was a lifelong Sinn Féin voter and will never vote for them again. The party's out of touch with the people. That could not have been more evident than in their recent support for the failed referendum and their unclear migration policies. That comes in from Tony. Tony, yes, I would agree with you, and I mean this sort of as an observer. If this major document is not going to reverse that party's fortunes, unfortunately, because people believe, I think a lot of people believe, that the housing crisis is so big that it's almost, you can't get your head around it. It's not a big issue. So what we do in that situation, we go to what seems to be the more actionable things like borders, for an example, and that's where we make our views and opinions known, or something like a referendum where it's very clear and simple as to what someone's position might be and what the consequences might be. I don't anticipate, and I could be wrong, I don't anticipate this housing policy giving them a big bounce back, because the scale of the problem is such that I don't think anyone at this point necessarily trusts anyone to be able to fix it. I could be completely wrong on that, and we'll see. And that's not a pro-anti-Sinn Féin, pro-anti-government. It's just an observation, and it includes really all parties. Hi, Greg. Sinn Féin are totally anti the small landlords of Donegal who are not money hungry and all for the tenants. I hope to God Pierce and his cronies, as this person describes them, do not get in. Good morning, Pierce. Can talk and talk, but fails at the last hurdle, like the missold PPI on our mortgages that we never got back. Statute of limitation was an absolute joke. We are owed thousands. Another, no wonder Sinn Féin are dropping in popularity. The man is not in the real world. Who's going to build these houses? Talk, talk, talk. Another, does Sinn Féin have any plans to limit short-term lets such as Airbnb? Now, I've done a lot of interviews over the years with Pierce Doherty, Paul McLaughlin, and other Sinn Féin representatives. And I'll be completely honest with you, and maybe it's just that Sinn Féin voters aren't ringing or texting in their numbers. I've not really seen such a negative reaction to such a long-form interview with Sinn Féin in quite some time, to be completely honest with you. I'm not saying that's indicative of the wider population's view. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. There were 33,000 houses promised for last year for Ireland. How many did Donegal get? Letterkenny had 4,500 social houses projected for 24. They will never happen. This talk needs to stop and action needs to start, and that's why I wanted as clear as possible an answer as to how houses might actually be delivered here. You know, fantastic for people in the rest of the country if they're getting houses, but what is going to change here? The biggest issue in this country at the minute is the cost of building. Contractors are charging lottery money to build because they can. What is Sinn Féin doing about the residential zone tax? It's insane in rural Donegal that families are facing these costs, yet when they apply for planning on the same land, they're being turned down. Well, that was addressed in that interview. Pierce talks about his children not being able to afford homes. I travel all over the world, and anywhere that is doing well and worth living in is expensive to buy a home in, and anywhere cheap is not worth living in. Another, the Sinn Féin housing policy is pie in the sky and will never work. Hi, Greg. The Sinn Féin housing plan states that the government retains ownership of the land on which the house sits. The residents can only sell the house to someone who qualifies for social, and state decides the price the house is sold for. That doesn't sound like ownership to me. And Owen O'Brien outlined some elements of that in an interview last month. Greg, housing problem. About 45 or 50 years ago, Donegal Coco had a pilot project in Woodlawn, Stranraer. The council sold sites for €1,000 each. The condition was they had to build a house within that year on the site. Great community, great idea. I mean, there's people now living in farmhouses or what have you that are still on land that's owned by the council. And it's not simple either in terms of developing that house, getting work done on that house. The council own the lands, the person owns the property. You know, there's lots and lots of those houses around the county. Is that similar to what's being proposed now in a different form? Why have rents and house prices gone up? I blame the influx of Ukrainians and direct provision. They're being housed for free. The maths just doesn't add up. If other people aren't paying their share, others have to pay the rest. How many of IPAS applicants, though, are in traditional rental accommodation? I think certainly an awful lot of Ukrainians, and maybe actually we're able to gather some resources together whilst in state accommodation, are certainly big competitors, and it's an open market, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing in the private rental sector now. How can we pay tradesmen to build houses? The workers are not there. I'm a tradesman and can't get people to do the work and pay them. Right, as I say, you know, I'd be very keen to hear those who are in favour of the Sinn Féin housing policy. In my time in this seat, I've not had such a negative reaction to a policy stroke interview, if I'm completely honest with you. But as I say, that's not necessarily indicative of the public's view. It's certainly just a testament to how motivated people are to text in, really, perhaps. I don't know. Okay, let's get a break in. We're going to give you the bingo numbers, and then we're going to do Community Garda information.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 3rd of September. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 36. The numbers are 67, 18, 63, 41, 46, 81, 70, 20, 62, and finally 87. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Join us at the Home Instead Riverfront House in Letterkenny on September 6th for the Virtual Dementia Tour, an immersive training experience. Gain a powerful first-hand perspective on the challenges faced by those living with dementia. After the tour, a debrief offers life-changing strategies to improve their lives. This exclusive, scientifically backed opportunity has limited spaces and requires booking. Contact Home Instead Letterkenny at 074 91 130 50 to secure your spot today.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91
With me in studio this morning is Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson, who's down to us from Buncrana Garda Station. Good morning, Charlene. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
We do appreciate it. And we're going to start with an appeal in relation to a fatal road traffic collision that occurred in St Johnston, Charlene.
That's correct, Greg. So on Friday, the 30th of August, Gardaí attended the scene of a fatal road traffic collision that occurred in the village of St Johnston, Donegal, shortly after 2 p.m. Now, Gardaí and emergency services were alerted after a woman in her 80s was struck by a lorry on Church Street in the village. She was pronounced deceased at the scene a short time later. So we're appealing this morning for any witnesses to the collision to come forward. If there was any road users who may have dashcam footage, or indeed anyone that has any information in relation to the incident, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Now we are focusing on a series of burglaries. We'll start at the Neil T. Blaney Road in Letterkenny, Charlene.
So Gardaí in Letterkenny are investigating a burglary that occurred at a business premises on the Neil T. Blaney Road in Letterkenny between 8 p.m. on Friday the 30th of August and 6:45 a.m. on Saturday the 31st of August. Now, in this particular burglary, Greg, a window of the premises was smashed and entry was gained, and a sum of cash was stolen from the cash register. So we appeal to anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity in the area between those times, or who may have any relevant information in relation to the incident, to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny, again 9167 100, or indeed they can contact the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111.
And help being sought in relation to a burglary at Glencar Irish.
That's correct. So between 9 p.m. on Saturday the 31st of August and 7 p.m. on Monday the 2nd of September, a wooden shed at a house in the Glencar Irish area of Letterkenny was broken into, and the lock on the shed was broken and entry was gained. Now, a road bike, black in colour with blue stripes, power tools and hand tools were stolen in this particular incident. So we appeal to anybody in the Glencar Irish area of Letterkenny who may have observed any suspicious activity in around the area, or indeed may have any information again in relation to this particular incident, to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny.
And not in any way casting any blame on that victim of that crime, but it does serve as serve as a reminder that criminals will also target out buildings, sheds and what have you, and sometimes not been guilty of this myself, so I can say we can focus on the security of the home in which we're living in. We also need to make sure that we ensure any outdoor space is secure as well. Absolutely,
Greg. And I suppose, look, the evenings now are starting to get darker, and you know, just again for people, and we always give this advice when we're on the programme, is just to ensure that if they have lights, that, you know, they have them on. If they're leaving the premises, that they have everything locked up, including windows, and particularly outbuildings, because as you rightly said there, it's times we would forget about them and the shed door could be left open, and a lot of these crimes are opportunistic. So just appeal to people, just light up, lock up,
You can have a 3 or 4 €500 house alarm system and a $3.99 lock on the shed. I've been guilty of that, so I can say it. Okay, now a burglary in Buncrana.
So Gardaí we recently became aware, Greg, of an incident in Buncrana at Buncrana Leisure Centre at the shore front, where over the summer months it would appear the premises was burgled. Now, entry was gained to the building and the gym was completely ransacked. Damage was caused to a treadmill also in the gym. So the burglary in this particular incident was believed to have occurred sometime between the 1st of May and August 27th, during which time the building was not in use. So just once again, appeal to any of the residents around the shorefront area in Buncrana to contact Gardaí in Buncrana 9320540, or indeed anyone that may have any information in relation to the incident to contact Gardaí.
Okay, back to Letterkenny now and an incident of criminal damage, Charlene.
So that's right. So Letterkenny Gardaí are appealing for the assistance of the public this morning in relation to a criminal damage incident that occurred at a takeaway premises, and that occurred on the Port Road in Letterkenny near the station roundabout in the early hours of Sunday, the 1st of September, round about 3 a.m, Greg.
So that's Saturday night, so people on the way home from a Saturday night out may have seen something really, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right. Or people that may have been out for the night, maybe round the takeaway.
Taxi drivers. Yeah.
Exactly. So in this particular incident, a man was in the premises. He kicked the front door and left, causing the glass to shatter. Now, we believe he was wearing a cream or a yellow shirt. So again, just any information in relation to the incident, we'd ask the public to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Now, a suspected assault in Buncrana next.
That's right. So Gardaí and Buncrana are investigating an assault that occurred at the Market Square in Buncrana in the early hours of Sunday, the 1st of September, between 1:45 and 2:45 a.m. Now, a man is reported to have been assaulted by a number of people at that location between those times. So he received medical treatment for his injuries, and thankfully, Greg, none of which are life-threatening in nature. So we just appeal to anyone who may have witnessed the incident to contact Gardaí in Buncrana, and the number there is 9320540. Or anyone, of course, that was in the vicinity at the time. And I suppose, look, what we would find at the weekend too, there's a lot of young people that are out. They're doing TikTok videos, they're putting stuff up on their reels on Instagram, and you just wouldn't know what you might have captured. And if anyone does have any information or indeed has captured the incident, whether that's dash cam footage now or indeed these TikToks or Instagram reels, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana.
Of course, and whilst thankfully the victim of this crime didn't sustain life-threatening injuries, it doesn't always tell the full story, does it either, in terms of the impact these assaults have on people physically and emotionally as well. So any assistance in bringing those responsible, I think, would be very worthwhile. And an interesting seizure recently by An Garda Síochána. This emerged last week, but interested to get more info on it from you, Sergeant Anderson.
So the Divisional Drugs Unit had great success, Greg, in South Donegal last week in around the 22nd of August. They seized €3,080 worth of vaping products containing what is suspected to be illegal cannabinoids. That's your THC, HHC and HHCP. Now, during the course of the searches they were carried out in Bundoran and indeed in Donegal town. So this was really as a result of an ongoing investigation into the sale and supply of cannabis in the form of oils and vapes. And these devices and e-cigarettes were being sold in Donegal. So the Divisional Unit done a number of searches on premises in around South Donegal on that date. And the searches were followed up then basically from inquiries that were received in relation to reports about medical incidents in which members of the public had fallen ill.
So just in relation to that, I mean, there's a couple of things going on here. Firstly, I think a lot of people may be hearing for the first time that you can vape cannabinoids. But also, too, that we have to be very careful to speak to those around us, whether they be young or otherwise, because this was triggered by a medical incident. That's the level of detail you're prepared to give, I'd imagine. But, I mean, that would indicate, too, that these products aren't safe necessarily, too. And they're illegal, which is the primary. So what kind of stuff was seized, Charlene?
Well, at the moment, we have a number, as I said, we had 66 vapes, 2 bottles of oil containing suspected, and I will say that suspected illegal cannabinoids. And now they're also subject to analysis from FSI, that's the Forensic Science Laboratory in Dublin. So look, we're just appealing this morning for anyone with any information that can assist us with our investigation to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 98 585 30.
Right, now, updates, love updates. Updates on a couple of appeals last week.
That's right, and you just like to thank the public again for all their help and Just the first update, I suppose, we appealed in relation to criminal damage incident that occurred at Lochfern Heights in Milford, and I can confirm that a youth has been identified in relation to this particular incident. And we also made an appeal in relation to a criminal damage incident, and that was at Main Street in Convoy. And further to that, 2 youths have been identified in relation to that particular incident, and all youths concerned will now be dealt with under the JLO scheme. So we just like to thank the public for their assistance as always. And I know too that a member of the public had contacted the radio station 2 weeks ago in relation to a stop sign.
That's right, yeah.
That was missing from a road in Mallinhead, so thanks for that as well. Contact was made with Donegal County Council, and I can confirm that the sign has since been replaced. So look, thank the caller first of all, and then of course thank Donegal County Council for their swift action in this particular one.
And in fairness to the council, when things are brought to their attention, often the response is swift. Now, does anyone know if the static speed cameras are fully functional yet on both lanes going out and coming in the dual carriageway at Manor Roundabout? I see there are new lines on the road.
So this is the question you were asking me earlier. You want to know this for yourself, isn't it?
I don't use that road. And I'm incredibly law-abiding.
I'm only messing. On May 1st, an Garda Síochána announced the location of 9 static speed safety camera locations, Greg. And the static speed safety cameras have been proven internationally to reduce speed. So, and of course, speed is one of the main contributors to road deaths. So the locations were selected based on fatal and serious collision data from the last 7 years, as well as feedback, of course, from the stakeholders. So it is confirmed that Donegal is to be one of the locations of the 9 new static speed safety cameras being rolled out nationwide. The device will be located on the N14, and that's East Letterkenny along the main Manor roundabout to Lifford Road. Now, it is expected to be fully operational by the end of 2024, so just not yet, Greg.
So that's interesting. So when you head over the dual carriageway, go round a roundabout, and from there heading out to Lifford, that's going to be it's either end of the road there that the
it'll be along that route, Greg. I suppose when we get the exact location, it will be on.
And it's good to get out because there are varying speed limits, and people might, leak over the 80 or whatever it might be, or depending on where it is. There's no wiggle room here. If you get from point A to point B quicker than the legal time it should take abiding by the speed limits, that is a speeding offence. So it's going to change drivers' behaviour on that road. It'll be very interesting to see the impact, Charlene.
Absolutely, and of course, we hope that it reduces road deaths.
Yeah,
and
that's what
the
it's
most
all about,
important
isn't
thing.
it?
And there's 9 being rolled out nationally, so this is one of the locations for Donegal. I will say that road users will be advised, Greg, of the location, and that the static safety speed camera, there will be signage there on the approach to it, and it'll be advertised on our social media platforms and indeed on the programme.
I'm sure we'll talk about it quite a bit in the lead up to
absolutely.
it. Yeah. So that's going to be fully operational by the end of 2024, but don't use that as an opportunity to drive irresponsibly between now and then, because all of this stuff that we talk about is all about trying to limit as much as is possible, and we can limit pretty much all of it if we tried. Fatalities on our roads and serious injury as well, which often isn't talked about, but an awful lot of people end up with life-altering, life-changing injuries. What can you do? Can you ask the guards advice on what to do if your Facebook page is hacked? Beforehand, please don't click any links. If someone says, "Can I have your number?" don't give them your number. You can only have your Facebook page hacked really 9 times out of 10 if you engage with a spurious link or what have you. But what is your advice?
I suppose the advice from us, Greg, is always the first thing you should do is contact Facebook directly and report the matter to them. And if you believe that your account or your network has been hacked because you can't get access to your account, you should contact the Garda station. Keep a copy of any suspicious activity, including your last login records or even a screenshot of the login page showing that you were locked out. You should try, where possible, to use the 2-factor authentication to secure your account, or use a backup email to try and regain access to your account with the help of your service
Which
provider.
Is good advice, actually. A lot of people go, it's too much hassle with the 2-factor authentication, but it is very useful. Right, okay, big day last Sunday.
Yeah, we had a great day out in Rockhill House on Sunday. We had a graduation for 22 of our 24 Little Blue Heroes in Donegal, and it was fantastic. We had a summer party for them. We had a lot of the services out there, you know, and the families and the friends of the children were there, so they got their medals and their certificates, and it was just a great opportunity to get them all together and get the families, they're able to engage with each other and support each other going forward. I suppose we have lost 3 of our little blue heroes, Greg, over the last year, and their families were there too for the presentation. So quite emotional, I will say, but definitely a fantastic event. Thanks to Chief Superintendent Gretty Sheridan, who was there on the day, Superintendent Sean Grant and Superintendent Karen Duffy from Ballyshannon District, and all the Garda buddies that liaise with the families consistently over the year. I suppose I'm the coordinator for Little Blue Heroes in Donegal, so it's always fantastic to, you know, run these initiatives, and particularly a day like this. We haven't had one of these days before, but it was great for the children and we all got so much out of it. And as I said, it was very emotional but thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah. And wonderful, as you say, wonderful, but also for the Little Blue Heroes, but also a wonderful opportunity to remember 3 little ones who will be always Little Blue Heroes, family members, of course, as well. So as you say, that range of emotions there. I'm very pleased to you, Charlene, for the stuff that you do in that. I know you're here to thank everybody else, but a lot of this wouldn't happen if it weren't for you. And a lot of people have to get involved and give up of their time to make this happen as well too.
Absolutely.
Not just Lease Sunday, but all the time.
Absolutely. And look, and big thanks too as well to Rockhill House. It's amazing. There are amazing facilities out there. We were hoping to have our air support unit, but unfortunately inclement weather, they were 10 minutes out.
That again.
They were 10 minutes out and they just couldn't land. But we had our Garda mounted unit there, and we'd like roads police and community policing units from Letterkenny and all over the division was there for the kids. You know, so it was a great day. Great day was had by all, Greg. Thank you.
Well done to you again, Charlene, for the effort you put in that regard. Thanks so much for joining us. It's greatly appreciated. That's Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from the Buncrana Garda Station. If you missed any of those appeals, if you want to listen back, it'll be available on our podcast from 12:30 on the Highland Radio website, and you can also rewatch it back. It'll be up on our social media and on Garda Síochána's social media page a little later on, and back live with you on the show tomorrow morning. No, next Tuesday morning, just after 10.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
New this week in Home Store and More. All painting and DIY accessories and all metal kitchen bins are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price painting and DIY accessories and all the half price metal kitchen bins are gone, they're gone. Also, all home office desks and chairs and all pet beds, toys and accessories are still all half price. But when all the half price home office desks and chairs and all the half price pet beds, toys and accessories are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
If you're not with Energy, chances are you're paying more than you need to for your electricity. As Ireland's newest energy provider, we offer Ireland's cheapest electricity rate, saving our customers up to €573 a year. So if you want to pay less for energy, simply pay a visit to unoenergy.ie and sign up for big savings with smaller bills. With Energy, you just know. Energy fixed discount rate EAB 1240 euro. For T's and C's and rates, see unoenergy.ie. Suppliers' pricing may change.
Be a winner and view the trophy collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Full colour awards, glass and crystal, perpetual cups and shields, sports awards, metal cups and medals. Whatever the occasion, click bmcsports.ie. Budget medals for sports days with personalised inserts to promote your club and school. Full engraving service available at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme. It is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Just want to remind you that next Sunday afternoon between 12 and 2, me and the team are going to be broadcasting live from the London Irish Charity Vintage Club Day It's in Greenford in London. If you're over in London, please come down and say hello. And it's not too late to book a flight. If you have the resources, why not? But before that, on Friday, it's an open invite into you if it's something you would enjoy. We have a live broadcast between 9 and 12 noon on Friday morning from Ongrianon Theatre, and it's going to be great fun. I'm going to be there. I'm elevating Paul and Jimmy almost to co-host status. I think they're worthy at this stage. They've done their training. So it'll be me, Jimmy and Paul, but also Zoe Macaulay, a 16-year-old singer-songwriter from Dunlow, will be performing 3 tracks for us. Tessio, they're a singer-songwriter duo from Derry. Jude and Callum, they're going to be performing live. We've got Owen Ferry, an up-and-coming 18-year-old singer-songwriter from Gweedore. And also the Afades, an Irish indie rock band, no strangers to Highland Radio. They're all 4 finalists in the Irish Music Month competition. They're going to be performing live. We're going to be giving away €10,000, part of the summer draw as well. And you can go on to Greenon's website now and book tickets for it if you want to. They're free, of course, and you just turn up in the day and you'll get to hear great live music and hopefully enjoy seeing a Highland Radio show live. So if you want to go along, and there could be 10 people there, there could be 200 people there. I have no idea what the interest might be, but we're letting the doors be open. But you need a ticket, obviously, for logistical reasons. You can go to on Greenon website. Have we linked that on our website yet, Caroline? No? Probably not. Do it sometime Friday morning. Joke, that'll be done today. Right, so the Department of Education has come under pressure to drop a junior cycle textbook containing absurdly misconceived and discriminatory depictions of the Irish family. This from the school curriculum. So children aged, in first and second class, they get to see 2 images, really. One's what you might call a traditional Irish family, or that's how they're framed. It's Arabic stuff, thatched cottage, cow looking on as if to say, my word, yous are all very backward. That's how the cow looks to me anyway. A couple of kids, Irish dancing among the chickens, and obviously there's going to be a hurley there and a slither. And mum and dad dad's got a pitchfork. Cat's looking on bemused as well. And really, that family is being framed as eating potatoes, bacon and cabbage every day. They do not like change or difference, and the children get told off if they mix with people with a different religion from theirs, as they would be a bad influence on them. Conversely, there is another family, a mixed family, and they are out partying. They're taking selfies, they're smiling, they're happy, they're eating pizza. In fact, some of that depiction is really quite stereotypical as well, eating curries and eating pizza just because you might be Asian or Italian strange. But they're outgoing, they're fun, they're travelling, they're open-minded, and what have you. So, again, I'm joined on the programme by Rebecca McDade from A Parent's Right on this issue. And Rebecca, I mean, I want to get your reaction, but I wanted to set it up. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I thought this was a joke. I thought that, do you know, sometimes someone finds a bit of information relating to something in Spain or something and they repackage it and say, this is what they're teaching our children. So I had to dig deep to find out if it was true, and it is true. What's your reaction to this?
Yes, Greg. It actually comes from this particular book. I know you'll not see it because it'll be back to front. But this particular book is what is being taught now. It has been published in 2023, and this is what's been taught in the secondary schools in Ireland. So that what you have just mentioned there is just one topic, I suppose, that you could pick out of that book that is a completely wrong depiction of an Irish family. If you look at the wording of it, because it's telling you your teacher will read the following descriptions of 2 different families. And while you're listening, close your eyes and imagine what it would be like to be living in this family. And then when you've heard the description of family A, pause and answer the questions, and then you go on to family B. So you're not actually taking the 2 of them at face value, what you see, and doing a difference between the both of them.
But this is
you're
not
on first.
But Rebecca, this to me doesn't seem to be like sort of necessarily talking about, you know, diversity and stuff like this here. I mean, maybe that's part. This is actually really poking fun at an Irish family to say, You don't want to be part of this, do you? You don't want to have no one living. You don't have a single relation living abroad. So so what they do is they ignore immigration, whereby a lot of these kids, their brothers and sisters, are actually probably living abroad. They ignore that and then try and make out that you're some sort of backward, cabbage and bacon eating, which many of us are. Don't get me wrong, that's not the worst of it. So it's crazy. I don't understand it. I don't get, unless it's trying to change people's ideology on stuff. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like education.
No, I don't feel like that is properly educating our children. Look, Greg, I come from a family. There's 10 of us in the house, and we have 5 boys, 5 girls. Our eldest in the house is 67 this year, and I'm the youngest. I'm 45. I have no problem telling anybody my age or giving that description. But our family home, when my parents bought that house, they'd been in Scotland, and after they got married and came over then, after the first 3 were born. And when they moved into that house, which is about 58 years ago, there was no running water in that house. So you're going back only almost 60 years in around that time frame where there was no maybe electricity in some houses, no running water. And that's real life. And if they want to try and tell the truth about what has happened in those years, please tell the truth. Don't tell lies. So the fact that our children, telling our children that we don't have a difference or change, that all of our family members are Irish, or we don't have a relation abroad, or anyone from another country in our family. I have family in London. I have family in Australia. I've been there myself. I've lived there myself. I'd love to go back again. To say that, that we don't play foreign games, we of course we play foreign games.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think they're trying
to. Greg,
it is, but I don't think they're trying to. I don't know what they're trying to do, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm not saying they're depicting that this is actually a typical Irish family, because then it says the only movies we get to see are Irish ones. None of that Hollywood rubbish for us. We get told off if we mix with people with a different religion from ours, as they would be a bad influence on us. And after that or before that, they're asked 2 questions. Name any advantages you can think of about being part of family A. Name any disadvantage you can think of being part of family A. So does that not maybe then challenge the student to say, well, I'm that kind of a family, but we love Hollywood films. We play different types of sport. Do you know what I mean? Is it not really designed maybe for a child to talk about the advantages of that family, but also the disadvantages of it?
Yes, if it was the truth. If it was the truth and you're asked to get the advantages and the disadvantages, but the fact that it's not actually true, Greg, is worse. That's the part that I have a massive issue with. I find it very, very divisive. I think it's a completely wrong depiction of a traditional Irish family. And we don't have to lose, we have our traditions, we have our culture. That's who we are. The Irish are known all over the world because of that. The people love our music. The Rose of Tralee is one of the programmes that we hold in Ireland, and they're coming from all over different parts of the world to enter the competition. That shows, and that's proof of our Irish people travelling all over the world. I just think that, at the end of the day, we do have our tradition, we do have our values, and we don't have to lose any of those in a book, in a depiction in English.
I'd love to know who wrote it, because
that's actually in our SPHE, which is the Health and Wellbeing program.
Then we have Family B. See, this is where I get confused now as to the point, because Family B, they have a fantastic life. They all are open-minded. They have all different types of food. They camp on their school holidays all around Europe rather than travelling around boring old crappy Irish Ireland. Like, if you have a group of kids of mixed backgrounds in that classroom, those that are not Irish look like they're fun and exciting, and those that are Irish look like Aaron Jumper wearing Spud boring munchers. Now, this is the stereotypes. These are the stereotypes that are being depicted here. Irish, white, boring farmers, non-white or mixed, fun, exciting, bigger world vision travel.
Yeah, but what you also have to take into consideration is when you have children from the foreign countries who are coming into our schools. And if they see that as an example of an Irish family, they're not going to have a very good impression about us. So that's why I'm saying it's extremely divisive. It's
I'm going to go a bit
dividing
further
the
than that.
people.
If this book was published in England, at the very least xenophobic, at the very worst racist. If this was a depiction of an Irish family produced outside of Ireland, those are the words that would be used. If we stereotyped another culture like this, it would be an international controversy, but we're doing it to ourselves, which I think is kind of strange.
Well, the answers that I would like, Greg, is I want to know who has actually signed off on this information to say that this should be taught or can be allowed to be taught to our children.
Who
in
wrote
schools.
it, and what position
Who
do they
did that?
have in formulating our teaching in schools?
Yeah. You know, the publisher is one person. You have a name on the book who's the publisher. That's not the person who wrote the content. So I would like to, the answers that I want is, who has actually written the content for this book?
I'm just showing this to the camera. Don't be distracted. Carry on talking.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Who has actually given the go-ahead for this information? That's the type of information that I want to know. And I would really like to see this taken off the market, because I don't believe that it should be allowed to be taught to our children.
I
in
want to
school.
talk to the artist, and I know this sounds stupid. I want to talk to the artist and ask them what they were trying to depict in the expression of the cat and the cow. I know that sounds like a silly thing to do, but they're looking on as if this
Because they're
family...
smiling.
No, the cow's looking on as if to say, oh, Jesus, look at this crew. And the cat, I don't know what its expression is.
Cat?
Yeah, but they're looking as if to say, oh... Right, yeah. And we also have, it'll be interesting to see what the Leaving Cert book is. That's being introduced now. You can't get this information online, so parents are unaware of this nonsense that's being taught to their children, if the truth be told. I could not find... but I couldn't find it online. It's an awful lot to ask a parent to order a book and buy it. And you know what I mean, Rebecca? So what do you think?
What I did,
yeah, go ahead. Please.
You know that I've been on your show before, and I've been talking about other things within the whole SPHE. And at the end of the day, we as parents, we have got to be on top of our game, and we have got to know what is going on in schools. We need to look at the books that they're being given, and we need to go through the content within the books. That's what I did. I went through the book and I picked out the things that I found that I thought, I don't agree with this. And there are a number of issues within the book, but this one has particularly really got me, because it is lies in the depiction of an Irish family.
It's racist.
And I cannot get past that.
It's racist.
I can't get past that.
It's a racist depiction of Irishness.
Well, when you go down that road, you can pick out different things from that. But my problem is when you hear something, you cannot unhear it again. So when the children get this information in school, and this is their first information they're going to get about a typical Irish family, especially when you talk about foreign children in their schools now, where they're being integrated into all our classrooms, it puts a divisive, it divides that class, and it gives the wrong interpretation of who we are as Irish people, and also for others, and what their idea of what an Irish family is.
Well, also
Because
we're far more. I know there
entirely.
are people who are very progressive, and there are people who are very conservative. But as a whole, our country is actually really quite progressive. It's opening. It's welcome, right? That is the majority of people here. Separate to maybe arguments about numbers and all that kind of stuff. But basically, we've got many different cultures of people living here for a very long period of time. We've got Irish families that are very open-minded, and go travelling and all this kind of stuff. And I just don't understand, even as a talking point, why an Irish family is depicted like this, and a mixed family or people with different cultures are depicted as something else. For someone in first or second class, what are you trying to achieve there? I don't see the benefit of let's have a conversation, because why not depict the stereotypes of the international family and have a modern outlook Irish family?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, as I said, the truth of the matter is the Irish people travelled all over the world. The likes of the Rose of Tralee, that gives you the best example of all of those countries where everybody has travelled to, coming back to Ireland. They're proud of their heritage, they're proud of their culture, they like to be able to show where they come from when they have been born, and whether it be America, whether it be, you know, anywhere else. They want to show their Irish culture and their Irish heritage, and they're very proud of it.
Okay. Rebecca, listen, thanks very much for your time. We'll come back to this because I have a feeling it's going to rumble on, but thank you for now. That's Rebecca McDade from A Parent's Right.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
SSE Airtricity harnesses our greatest natural resource, providing cleaner, renewable energy for homes and businesses across the country. While we all want a greener tomorrow, we also want to save on our energy bills today. With our recent price reductions, you can do both. Right now, we're offering a range of highly competitive energy plans. Switch now and you could save with one of our great introductory offers. To see our very best offers, go direct to ssceairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. Since January 2024, we've decreased our domestic electricity variable rates by 22.8% and gas variable rates by 21.5%. For more information, visit ssceairtricity.com.
Éist go han cuairmach. Cúla tú é sin. Tá sé ann a rís. Agus a rís. Is féidir leat iiritas a dhéanamh inis an bacáiste sochar tailig líne. Tá sé ann chun cabhrú leat le costas electricus nó gáis, agus is féidir cadúnas telefíse séir an eisce á fiú. Is féidir le daoine os ceann 7 bliain díos cáilú go thutha i bríoch, agus déach daoine eile a bheith inchálithe faoi réir chuinílacha cálathacha. Chun tuile eolais áil, tuaircuairt gov.ie/bacáiste sochar tailig. Bacáiste bháin in aigean tailig. Na hódcuad ag an Ryan Cuirmicha Sóisialaí.
Hamilton is coming to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on Monday, 21st of October 2024. This hugely popular musical is almost sold out, but here at Highland Radio, we've got you covered. We include luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel, Dublin, your ticket to the show, and a shopping trip to Dublin the next day. To book, simply call us on 074 9125,000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okie doke. Now, it'll be mostly cloudy today with scattered outbreaks of rain or drizzle and occasional sunny intervals. The best of the sunshine is likely this evening. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in moderate northwest winds. Now, just to remind you, from Thursday, the weather's actually going to be quite pleasant. Not an awful lot of rain at this point forecast for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, it's actually going to get quite warm and into Sunday. So, hopefully, you can make the most of that. Right, now, we're going to take a break because I have run over a little bit. So we're going to take a break before the news at 11, and we've got a really interesting hour on the way. Please don't go anywhere. Your comments and lots of other stuff too.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
It's 1979. Kitty is pregnant. She's on her own and arrives in a mother and baby home, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The Marion Hotel is based on Katrina Cunningham's lived experience of being in the Marionvale Mother and Baby Home in Uri, and will take you on a journey that is mesmerising and intensely moving. See the Marion Hotel on Thursday, September 26th at 8 p.m. at Angrenon Theatre, Letterkenny. Tickets available from angrenon.com.
Searching for your perfect match? Then visit the Northwest Matchmaking Festival at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran, from Friday the 27th of September to Saturday the 5th of October. 9 days of non-stop dancing with top acts including Mike Denver, Jimmy Buckley, Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, Johnny Brady, Michael English, Robert Mazzell and many, many more. Find that someone special with blind dates and speed dating occurring throughout the festival. For booking options, go to the AllinghamArmsHotel.ie.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Raymond Sweeney here to introduce you to heat pump tumble dryers. With these dryers you can save up to 50% on energy use, enjoy softer clothes, and thanks to advanced sensor drying technology, you will have wrinkle-free laundry every time. Upgrade your drying experience today with a heat pump tumble dryer, now available at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or the shopping centre Dunlow.
Tá, cínte. Is féidir le bhám siab a chuirtum déirdín nó dúirt mai iad gur féidir leis siab a chuirtum ag amlón de híine. Ach go bháin mas má leatsa teacht agus mé a bhailiú ríis.
Nuair a cháillann tú do cheadúnas, cáillann tú do neamhsplachas. Má bheirteartig tomaint faoi cheannachar an óil nó drogaí dí cháileo forthú. Teachtareacht ón údarás umhaibhilteocht ar bmhóire. Tuair cuairt ar rsa.ie.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, made a complete hames of that. I'm out of the studio one day and I can't remember how to work the computer. So now it's 11. So let's get a news update, and it's over to the patient, Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí have renewed an appeal for information after a woman in her 80s was struck by a lorry in St Johnston on Friday afternoon. The victim has been named locally as Patricia McBurty. She passed away at the scene a short time later. Road users who were in the area at the time of the collision and have dashcam footage are asked to contact Gardaí. A man has died in a single vehicle collision in County Derry. The 35-year-old was the driver and sole occupant of a blue Vauxhall Astra, which collided with a tree after it left the Agivy Road in Kilrea at around 20 to 9 last night. The road was closed for a time, but has since reopened. Sinn Féin is pledging to spend €39 billion on transforming the housing market if elected to government. The opposition promises to deliver affordable homes, which cost €250,000 under the new housing policy. Deputy Pearse Doherty says the plan deals with obstacles to development such as infrastructure, which will benefit counties like Donegal. Cash was stolen from the till of a Letterkenny business. It happened on the Neil T. Blaney Road between 8 p.m. on Friday last and 6:45 the following morning. Entry was gained by smashing a window. Gardaí are now investigating and are asking those who observed any suspicious activity or who may have relevant information to get in touch. Meanwhile, a shed was broken into at an address in Glencar Irish in Letterkenny. The lock was broken and entry was gained between 9 p.m. on Saturday last and 7 p.m. yesterday evening. It's understood a road bike, which is black in colour with a blue stripe, was stolen, along with a number of hand tools and power tools. And finally, the Justice Minister says dealing with the online world is one of the biggest challenges of our generation. It comes as new research shows parents are less involved in their children's online lives than they used to be. A quarter of primary school children have been upset by harmful content online, according to Cyber Safe Kids' annual report. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back with headlines at 12 noon.
Thanks, Donna Marie. Now, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to plug our show on Friday. Because we are taking part in the very successful Irish Music Month. Now, it's a collaboration between a load of independent stations around the country. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. Last year, we were part of it as well, of course. We sent up our act and they did very well indeed. And many of the acts that are selected as finalists for the Irish Music Month have gone on to enjoy fantastic airplay, bigger gigs, and supporting international acts as well. So what's happened so far is that we invited the great public of the Northwest to send in those demo tapes. Now, they could have been a choir and a singular artist, a band, a duet, whatever it might be. So we had in excess of 70 entrants, and so many of them were so good. The judging panel managed to whittle that down to 4. Now, our 4 acts have already each received or will receive a total of €875 of a prize, which is €650 plus €225 for their technical crew. And our 4 finalists will be performing live on Friday. And just to give you a sense of the quality of our finalists, I'm going to play little samples for you. Here's Zoe McCauley. Now, Zoe is a 16-year-old singer-songwriter from Dunlow. She is finalist number 1. This is her track, Wait and See.
But then I think of the grander scheme. Won't think about every place I've been, 'cause I'm just a girl.
And that's a Wait and See. We're playing it in its entirety throughout the week, by the way, so I'm not being disrespectful to Zoe. Zoe will be performing that song live along with 2 other tracks. Tessio too. They're a real up-and-coming duo from Derry. They're Jude McCandless and Callum Feeney. This is their track, Hang It. Now, they are really good, as is Zoe, and really good live as well. Owen Ferry would be a name familiar to many of you out there. He's just 18 years of age. Seems like he's been around for ages. He's a singer-songwriter from Gweedore, and he's dropped this track into us, and it really is a pop powerhouse, I think.
I know that every time I try to call you, won't answer the phone. 'Cause I'm still trying to call.
So there you have it. It has all the ingredients, doesn't it, for lots of airplay. And last but not least, Irish indie rock band The Fades. They've been regular guests over the years on Highland Radio and really starting to find their sound, and they are great. All right, so that's the Fades. They're also going to be performing live on Friday. It's broadcast on the radio, so if you're a regular radio listener, just lie back and enjoy it. Paul and Jimmy are going to be on stage with me and on Green on Theatre as we chat to our finalists. There'll be lots of other surprises as well, okay? So you can go and watch us do our show and listen to this music for free on Friday morning. Isn't that nice? Now, all you have to do is go to the On Green On website, which is, I'll go to the home website here. It's ongreenon.com. It couldn't be any simpler than that. So on greenon.com, and then you go to What's On, which also is very simple. And we're the next What's On. It is Greg Hughes, the 9 till noon show live. So Greg Hughes from Highland Radio Donegal presents a live radio broadcast from On Green On Theatre for Irish Music Month. So you click book now, and you will see that you click book tickets now. And already people are booking tickets, which is great. As I said, I had no expectations here. We just wanted to take it out of the studio and get the acts onto a stage because it's a nice buzz. And people are booking tickets, which is fantastic. So if you want to be in the live audience, it's free. It's on Saturday morning between 9 and 12. Please go on to ongreenon.com and book your tickets. There's still tons of availability, but to be honest with you, it's great to see. It's great to see those seats being snapped up. Also, on Friday, we are giving away €10,000 on this show. And we're going to bring the trombola from here down to the stage because it is the conclusion of Highland Radio's mega summer draw. We've €12,500 in total to give away. Lee Gooch will give away €2,500 on the Naughty Alarm Clock. And €10,000 will be given away on the 9 till noon show. And you can still get your tickets now. We don't know which ticket's coming out. If it's a high number, now's the time to get your ticket because someone doesn't have that ticket yet. Do you get me? So you're very much in with a chance if you get your ticket. Go to our website, highlandradio.com, click on Mega Summer Draw and answer a simple question and you can choose your tickets for fun, by the way. Please don't be doing stuff you can't afford. We don't want that either. But one ticket's just a tenner. You can group in with other people or do it yourself. 6 for 50, so you get an extra ticket. 10 for 80. Now, it is very, very plain on this. Some of these competitions, I just wonder what goes on in the background. I'm not suggesting any impropriety, but it's very simple. You buy a ticket here, you get allocated a number, and I swear to you, that number goes straight into the draw drum. Every single number goes in there. They're all accounted for. Everybody has an even chance. So get your tickets online. You could win $2,500 with Lee or $10,000 with me. Now, also, you can give us a call here at the radio station, 07491 25,000, and we can process your ticket order now. But it's $12,500. Get your tickets ASAP. And really interested to keep an eye on the tickets for the show on Friday. It's between 9 to 12. It's in Ongrianon. We've got fantastic live music over 3 hours. We'll have a bit of cracking conversation as well with Paul and Jimmy, and we'll chat to the artists. Maybe you want to support them or just want to go and see top quality live music. Get in. There's something for everyone in that packed lineup. All right, okay. You need me to move on quickly, do you? Yep, okay, so I'll take this break early and then we'll come back with our next guest in 2 or 3 minutes.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Go full Lidl for full lunch boxes that'll come home empty. With 3 for 2 across lunchbox essentials, only on Lidl Plus. That's right, we have fresh breads, tasty Irish cooked meats, and Irish cheeses to please everyone. That's 84 items to choose from for countless simple sandwich ideas. Scan the Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
The thing about hearing difficulties is you can still get the rough gist of most conversations. You know, just about. You might miss some great jokes. The one about the rabbit and the scarf. Like that one. But you'll get a vague idea. And that's okay, isn't it? Not for us, it's not. At Specsavers, we think okay hearing isn't okay. So book a free hearing check with one of our hearing experts today and be part of the conversation. Specsavers. Okay hearing is not okay.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Did you know that you can earn up to €14,000 tax-free if you rent a room in your own home to students? If you're in Letterkenny and have accommodation to rent, maybe a house, apartment, digs or a room, the Students' Union at ATU would love to hear from you. Call 9186826 or email studentunion.donegal@atu.ie to have your property added to their student accommodation list.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It is 11 minutes past 11. Welcome back to the show. Now, the High Court has jailed secondary school teacher Enoch Burke for a third time. This for breaching a court order. Mr. Justice Michael Quinn said he was satisfied Mr. Burke was acting in breach of the permanent injunction granted a year ago and was in contempt of court. He ordered him to be committed again to Mountjoy Prison until he purges his contempt. The judge listed the matter again for 11th of October, but said Mr. Burke could come into court at any point if he wanted to purge his contempt. But Mr. Burke told the judge he would answer to God for imprisoning someone for their religious beliefs. Peter Nolan is a barrister and joins us on the programme now. Peter, thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. So I suppose, look, lots of people, particularly those that will back Enoch Burke, will say that he's being jailed because of his views on transgenderism. Now, maybe that has what has led us to where we are now, but that is not specifically the reason for which he's in prison.
Absolutely not. There's no crime in relation to having an opinion on transgender or LYGP. It's a matter of personal opinion. That there is no. If he says I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. That's not the crime. The crime is basically there's no crime here. What happened was he was sacked from his job. He's now appealing that, and he was sacked on the basis that he wouldn't teach or wouldn't refer to some of the pupils in a certain way. And that's his choice. If he wishes to do that and stand on his beliefs, that's his choice. What he should have done is he's now appealing the matter. He should have allowed the appeal to go through. If he felt his constitutional rights were being infringed, in other words, that his freedom of expression was being infringed, he should have taken an action against the school. The school are taking an action against him. So he's approached it, in my view, entirely the wrong way. And what he's in jail for now is breach of a court order. And it's the only form of enforcement the civil courts have when an order is breached willfully. And the word, very, very important word, is willfully. If you willfully breach an order, say, I'm not doing that. And as he did the other day, he was told you are not to go onto the grounds at the gate of Wilson Hospital School. He did. And that's where he was arrested, walking around the grounds. Now, that's a willful fingers up, in essence, to the court. And therefore, the only remedy the court has is to attach and commit him. What we saw was him being attached, i.e., the guards are sent out. They bring him before the court. The court asks, are you willing to purge your contempt? He says no. Then he's committed to prison until he does. And the ball is in his court. Now, the only reason he's in prison today is because he's in contempt of a permanent injunction restraining him from entering onto the grounds of a private property called Wilson Hospital School. It would be the same if you had an injunction or I had an injunction. If you had an injunction against me, said that I was to not to go onto your land for any purpose whatsoever, and I continued to do it, you would expect the courts to do something. And the only thing the courts can do is impose a attachment and committal proceedings
and just
against
that
me.
point, Peter, because I mean, I heard some other journalists saying that this is like taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut. The bottom line is though, this nut has to be cracked, because if these types of orders aren't enforced, well then they have no standing at all, because if you weren't to enforce it on Mr. Burke, then you couldn't justify enforcing it on anybody else.
Correct. And the problem is I myself have acted in numerous attachment and committal applications, and it's amazing. The cough is greatly softened. You spend a day or two in Castlereagh prison, I can tell you. However, Mr. Burke, and I do admire him for his fortitude and his belief in his position, he's quite happy to go to prison, it seems to me, which is a most unusual circumstance. But that's a matter for him again. And the ball is in his court, as I say. He must purge his contempt. He must go in and apologise and say, I will abide now by the order of court, and I will not attend at that school again. To interfere, by the way, he's interfering with the staff. He's causing difficulty, no doubt, for pupils and staff, regardless of what his beliefs are. And I would be very uncomfortable if I was a member of staff or a pupil having Enoch Burke walking around the grounds of the school and the guards attending on a regular basis to take him away. I mean, it's to me, it might be a hammer to crack a nut. It's the only hammer we have.
Now, whilst
we've no other way of dealing with this.
Sorry, Peter. Whilst you and others might, admire his commitment, there's another fundamental part of this too, really, that I don't think is spoken about enough. In that, this does not advance his position in any case, because he is in a process. He was sacked by the school, and people can disagree with that or not. And he's appealing that dismissal, and he's on full pay whilst it's being appealed. So, correct. In any circumstances, normally, if someone was sacked and were appealing that, you don't continue to turn up, because there is procedures in place and they're very well established. So his turning up is not really advancing his cause, because he's already engaging in an appeals process for his dismissal.
Correct, absolutely correct. And then on top of that, there are comments made about the standing of the judge. They've obviously done research in relation to this. His family are lawyers, are certainly involved in the law. Some of them are qualified lawyers. They've obviously done their research, and they then use the media attention to castigate the judge, who's simply doing his job and having the court order enforced. He has a procedure available to him, as everybody else has, when they are sacked. If they say they are unfairly dismissed, they have the procedures that are clearly in the statute available. If those procedures are then exhausted and you still believe that you were not fairly treated, you have further procedures. So rather than doing what he's doing, making it a cause célèbre, making him the centre of everyone's attention, when in actual fact he hasn't exhausted all of the remedies available to him, and he's now sitting in jail on a totally false premise that somehow he's been victimised here by the courts because of his beliefs. He's not. He's in jail because he will not obey a lawful court order. He will not recognise the court's ability to make an order. Now, if that if that is to spread everywhere, then there'll be no remedies and there'll be anarchy, and you cannot have that. And the courts, I can assure you, this is our final remedy. This is, in my experience with attachment and committal applications, the court will do everything in its power not to impose this. They know this is a draconian belief, but the fact is, Enoch has left them with no alternative, and that's it. He's been given numerous chances. Will you stay away? Yes, I will. No. And then he goes and he breaches that, as he done willfully on last Friday or whatever it was. He went back onto the grounds as soon as the school had commenced its term.
Yeah. Well, so, the students there no longer. The students no longer there. The original principal is no longer there. It does. Yeah. I think it doesn't look well for him to be walking around the school grounds with a satchel and an umbrella around a school where young people are there and he's not wanted. It's not a good look, I don't think.
It's really embarrassing, actually, but I think he's beyond embarrassment, and they're blinded by some belief that they have been some way their beliefs have been attacked and undermined. That's not the case. He's free to go on any social media, any media, and even on your program, no doubt, if he rang you and say, "I believe that transgender designated children is wrong."
A bit of that is Peter, which I don't understand as well, is like I've interviewed dozens of trans people over the years for different reasons or others, and I have never either felt the need to or had to refer to them as them or they. I call them by their name, and I don't care if you're called Timbuktu. Like in ordinary discourse in life, and it's not because I've refused to, that's not the point. I've never really had to say they or them. I just call people by their names.
Exactly the same. I am exactly the same. Yeah. I've met numerous transgender people, and that is actually the way out of it. Is that all Enoch had to do was say, "Listen, I'm not going to use the word they, them. I'll use the name Gary or whatever. I'll use that name. I'll call him by the first name. Is that a problem for the school? I probably wouldn't have been. But no, he had to make an issue out of this. That is an issue that's gone way beyond where it is now, and he's now victimizing himself. He's now the victim. He's the victim. I've been put into, but he's a victim because he shot himself in the foot. He's the one that's causing the problem. He's the one that's breaching the court order. He's the one that's in jail because of his own behaviour. That's simple as that. And no matter what way they turn it or twist it, that's it. The courts have a duty to the citizens of Ireland in civil matters to maintain their power and their jurisdiction. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes unenforceable, and anarchy reigns, and people can do what they want because, there's no sanction. I can do what I want. But that's not the way it is.
And people are perfectly entitled to, and many people actually are also opposed to transgenderism and or maybe the acceptance or the teachings of it in school. There's lots of people would agree would agree on that. There's no doubt about it. And I think really society's actually still working that out where we'll actually end up. Him I don't know what he refused to do in the school, refused to call them they or them. That sounded more like either the student has to leave or I'm leaving. That's going right back to the very start of it. But he was either saying, well, that student has to use the name they were given at birth and they have to act as the gender they were at birth, or I'm leaving. So it was right from the very, very beginning. It was a no-win. And he's got to the point now...
It's absolutely banging his head off the legal brick wall that he's now continuing to do so. And the only thing that gets injured when you do that is your own head. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen to him. He's not going to win this. He can't win it. It's unwinnable. You only fight the battles you win. There's another way of dealing with this. He should have dealt with it that way. He now feels no doubt that they cannot step back and lose face now in relation to their position to date, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because their position to date, if they stand back and look at it, is: will you conform with this order? The simple answer is yes, and that does not stop him from proceeding with his appeal, proceeding to vindicate his rights of employment, and proceeding then to take whatever action he needs to do that. He can say, okay, I'm sorry, I won't go on the grounds again, but I now will prosecute my appeal and do all the rest of it as I'm entitled to do under law. But he hasn't done that, and the reason his appeal has been stopped is because he's taking all these proceedings in the High Court because of this and because of that, and they can't proceed with the appeal until those proceedings are dealt with. So it's entirely and utterly the man's fault. And I thought that he did seem to me to have a modicum of intelligence, as did his family, but obviously they're now been blinded by whatever belief or prejudice they have or believe they have in relation to this matter.
I interviewed I'm not sure if it was Enoch or his younger brother, interviewed them on this show in relation to homeschooling, and it was a very educational and informative conversation, and they're clearly a very intelligent people. Well, just finally, Peter, I know your time's precious, but he's also being ordered to pay €700 per day. Now, there seems to be some confusion as to who tries
problem with
to.
that is
Why at this day and age are we so confused as to who would claim that or enforce
Well, the problem with that is that the fine is a criminal sanction. It's not a civil sanction. So at the moment, he's before the court on an injunctive basis, which is a civil remedy that's been granted against him. Now, the fact that €700 or whatever it is per day he's been told to pay, or per week, I'm not sure what it is, that's a criminal sanction. So therefore, the issue now arises: how can you cross over from a criminal sanction and enforce a payment of a fine under the Payment of Fines Act, which only deals with criminal matters, in a civil matter? But what you could do is you could attach his earnings. So he's on full pay. So what they could do is, we're going to get an attachment of earnings order from the court and say we're taking €700 per week from your pay now, Enoch, on foot of the order. That's what they could do, but they haven't done that. So the court did criticise the school for not advancing that. What I read in the judgment, it was why haven't you made attempts to obtain the €700 per day? And plus all this, just one other thing I want to say: this is costing the taxpayer a fortune in guards, prisons, everything, court hearings, court attendance. It's just beyond a joke in my view at this point, and really it's going nowhere. He's going to lose this. He's not going to advance his cause in any way if there is a cause there, and he's not going to enamour himself with anybody because of his approach to this. The €700 a day, that can be dealt with in a different way again, and they can avoid the tangle of criminal and civil contempt, which is tangled in now at the moment.
And I mean, Peter, we see people who are, victims of some of the worst crimes who get sort of, that get deferred sentences or probation or whatever it might be. And for most right-thinking people, when you see someone with 1,000 images of child sexual abuse walking free from court, not without sanction, but free from court, and then you see Enoch Burke in prison, it doesn't make sense, but there's no alternative. There's no alternative.
There's apples and oranges there, because the first one is a criminal matter, and there's no attached. There's criminal contempt, which you get a jail sentence for. That's not what this is. But if it's a criminal matter, then you're entitled to be sent to prison as a punishment or for rehabilitation. In a civil matter, having exhausted all, I've no doubt the court exhausted all previous remedies and all gave him every opportunity. The only way that they can enforce an order of the court that is blatantly and willfully been ignored and laughed at by Mr. Burke is to attach and commit him to prison until he purges his contempt for the order of the court, not for the issue of transgenderism and all the rest of it. He is simply in breach of an order of the court, and he has to purge that contempt. That's what he has to do. So they can tangle it up in any way they want, and they can come on social media and say all of these things. That is not the case. It's very simple. He's in breach of an order. Are you going to stop being in breach of an order now, Mr. Burke, or are you not? And if he keeps saying, no, I'm not, well then fine, the court has no option but to say, well, off you go, back to wherever you're, back to prison until you do.
And that has to be independent of
this is the way
ideology
it
and
works.
agenda. It can't be conflated with the subject matter, because the reason it's in prison is separate almost to that. Peter, thanks as always for your insight. Peter Nolan there, who is a barrister, of course, and says he respects his commitment to it, but on basic law, he has to go to prison because he's not complying with this order. Get your views into us on that 086 60 25,000. We're going to be in the garden with Paul a little later on, very shortly, in fact. So any questions on your gardens or your flowers or your pots or your trees or your bushes, get in touch with us right now. We'll get those questions answered for you. A caller said, sad to see poor Enoch Burke return to prison. Watched the first committal and 6 Gardaí around him walking with his hands in his pockets. They were probably on promotion. Yeah, but I mean, if any of us tried the same crack in the courts, we would end up with the same sort of with the same treatment, it seems. Greg, it looks like you want to emphasise what side you're on with regard to Enoch Burke, much as you would like to point out what he was jailed for. It is for standing up for his rights to ignore someone that wants to change his or her name to a cat or something else that will distrust his class. But the problem... So if it is about that, firstly, it's his choice whether he refers to someone as they or them. I've never, in conversation with anyone, had to sort of say his, her, or not knowingly anyway. As I say, I've interviewed dozens of trans people, and using their pronouns, it's never come up. When someone is put through to me here, I don't know what their name is. We've had some great names, but you also get names that are a little bit left of centre and all that kind of stuff. It's just a name, right? If he's dead against transgenderism, the only actual solution is either he left the school or the transgender child left the school, because it is what it is. You know, so I'm not taking sides. I'm just trying to present the facts as they are. Mr. Enoch Burke is simply protecting children from abuse. The Irish judiciary are the ones who, for many decades, protected the paedophile priests and ignored the suffering of their child rape victims up until the last couple of decades, when child sexual abuse became a public scandal. The Irish judiciary have learned very little and cannot think for themselves, and that is a result of English common law for you. Wouldn't agree with Burke's religious views, but fair play for standing up for his beliefs and taking on the woke agenda, says the listener there. Thank you for that. 086 60 25,000. They, them agenda is nonsense, says Dahi. Teachers shouldn't be made to address students by their pronouns. Totally ridiculous. All students have names, schools and principals are at fault. Again, Dahi, the only thing I can say is I don't actively go around calling people he, she, they, them, I, or whatever it might be. So, I mean, I could successfully teach a class, I think, without referencing to anybody's pronouns for that matter. But look, I respect your point of view, and there's a great deal of sympathy out there for Mr. Burke. My reason for speaking to Mr. Nolan is to actually, from a legal perspective, make it absolutely clear as to why Mr. Burke is in prison in the first place and what he might have to do, and he's not going to do, but what he might have to do to be back at home with his family.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €130 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Got your exam results? Your career starts with Northwest Regional College. Come along to your local Derry London Dairy, Strabane or Limavady campus to apply for a course or confirm your place. Choose from our wide range of apprenticeships, level 3 diplomas, foundation degrees and so much more. For more, visit nwrc.ac.uk/results. Northwest Regional College. From here to career.
Join Home Instead and make a difference in older people's lives. Home Instead Hiring Week is Monday the 2nd to Friday the 6th of September. For event details or to apply now, visit homeinstead.ie.
Home instead, to us it's personal.
It's all reward,
and no compromise when you switch to Vodafone. Get rewarded with an iPhone 15 on us, just for making the great decision to switch to Ireland's most reliable mobile network. With unlimited 5G data, calls and texts. Simply switch to Vodafone online or in-store today. Vodafone. Together we can.
Offer ends 22nd September 2024, subject to coverage, eligibility criteria, 24-month contract and handset availability. Most reliable network, Umlaut 2024. For Umlaut certification and full terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Apply online for learner permit and driving licence services, including renewals, updates, exchanges and replacements. It's easy and hassle-free. Visit NDLS online today at ndls.rsa.ie. Verified MyGov ID required.
Now
a message from the Road Safety Authority.
We have stepped out of the studio, metaphorically. We've stepped into the garden. It's quite nice. It's dry. It's breezy. Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochdur Garden Centre, Letterkenny, is in it with us. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Greg.
It's a funny old summer, isn't it? Because, like say from a farming perspective, and I think it kind of depends where you are in the county. The growth has been really quite poor. I wonder if people noticed, as I say, dependent where you are, not having to cut the grass as much. But as I say, even for farmers, maybe not getting that second or certainly not a third cut of silage.
Yes, absolutely. No, funny, our own bit of ground there was cut on Friday or Saturday now, but the second cut definitely wasn't what it should have been.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just their lack of sunshine. Just
hay
like
or silage or bales or
bale silage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, we're now heading into a few days where the temperatures are going up again.
Yes.
So we're going to have less moisture, more sunshine, and temperatures in the 20s for certainly from Thursday heading into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
So a late spurge.
Hopefully a late surge. All right, I get grass growing a bit better, get sort of the lawns looking healthier and stuff like that. If you know what I mean. But that'd be nice even to get out into the garden for the weekend. Hopefully, if it lasts that long.
Yeah. Well, we're in September. The Indian summer, in what we might expect, is not going to happen. So let's see what we can be at. The veg garden now. Where's people's veg at?
Veg, generally, a lot of people still harvesting all the stuff like your potatoes are all ready, your tomatoes are flying. Though actually your onions and that should all be coming on perfectly well. A lot of people even sort of fruit their apples are starting to come into their own now as well, and it won't be long until they're ready.
And also too, there's stuff we can be planting for the winter. Now, some of those people will be in the know, right? But others, they might want to get into it. So, your garlic, onions?
Yeah, garlic now. Garlic's sort of a 18-month crop, if you know what I mean. So if you plant it now, you be into sort of this time next year, you should be ready, if you know what I mean. So you're overwintering it, your onions and even some cabbages there. So there are plenty of stuff you can get normal.
So where do you get onions or garlic from if you want to plant it?
Yeah, generally most garden centres would carry the wee sets.
Yeah.
It might be a wee bit early. In the next few weeks, they'll be getting them in.
Right,
like most garden centres this week are getting in the spring bulbs, like your daffodils and all that kind of carry on.
Yeah, and the reality is regardless of blips in the weather, positive blips, we are heading into the autumn. So what should people or can people be doing with their beds?
Generally, beds, give them a wee freshen up, trim back anything. Most shrubs are sort of past flowering now, nearly are getting there. After the finished flowering, you can trim them back if you want to. Just freshen up the beds, even if you have mulch on them or that, add to it, and just kind of use this period of good weather to sort of set yourself up so you're not sort of gardening in the winter time in the bad weather.
And if people are wondering, well, what do I cut back? I suppose if it's scraggly, if it's dying.
Pretty much, I just give it a wee general tidy up, if you know what I mean. A lot of people this time of year, a lot of plants have gone to seed too, so this is an opportunity to actually harvest some of that seed.
How would one harvest seed?
Generally, you'll see the seed heads coming on the plants. Whenever naturally at this time of year, they dry out on the plant. So what people would normally do is sort of bring that in over semi-dry, hang it upside down in the shed, maybe like elastic band, brown paper bag under it. So then the seeds sort of naturally fall out.
And then them seeds can be planted next year.
Yeah, plant them next year. Store them somewhere dry. A lot of people store them in jam pots, stuff like that. And a good tip for that there is actually, the wee sachets and stuff come with your runners. The silica gel.
They soak up moisture.
Yeah, put a few of them under your seed, and then that'll actually preserve them much better because that's taking the moisture out of the seed.
If I don't have those, would rice do it, or is that a myth?
Yes, put it on beside your phone.
Roses, the one of the plant stroke flowers that are always popular, but always spawns lots of questions. So, what's the state of our roses at the moment?
Unfortunately, this hasn't been a great year for roses because just the amount of rainfall and everything else, and the lack of sunshine, they haven't maybe performed as well as they should. But should still flower on until almost you always hear tell of roses in the snow, so they almost go up into the winter time.
Yeah.
So they should still be flowering well. Any disease sort of foliage at this time of year or black spot, and you can remove that just for the look of them.
Yeah.
And just even give them a wee late feed might help burst them on if we do get a bit of good weather.
Yep, there has been some hedge cutting going on through the summer where it's necessary, lines of sight and all that kind of stuff. But hedge cutting season is right. We're in it now, aren't
Exactly.
we?
From the 1st of September, you're allowed to cut away. So we are generally it's to do with birds nesting basically. So no birds nesting this time of year. So now is the opportunity to get at your hedges and get them cut back if it's a job you've been putting off for a wee while.
Yeah, and is it the landowner always responsible for the roadside hedges?
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah.
Probably the council do take it upon themselves.
You do
if
see
they
them up
pose
certain roads,
danger, if you know what I mean.
For sure. Okay. So get your hedges cut, but also if you're a motorist, keep your eyes out because you might come around the corner and there's a hedge cutter there. Normally the guys are great; they have signs up and that type of stuff.
Yes, but there will be a lot on the road for the next wee while, I would say.
I put in a laurel hedge about a year ago. It's taking off good now after feeding with bone meal. When would I trim it to thicken it, or should I just let it grow a bit longer until they're all the same height? Thanks.
Yes, quite a common thing to do is actually take the top of your hedge and it encourages it to bush out from the bottom. So at this time of the year, I would nearly tend to leave it until the spring. Now, the 1st of April, just whenever it starts to actively grow, I would just nip off the bare minimum of the top. That stops it growing up for that year and actually encourages it to bush out from the bottom. So you'll have a better hedge long term. So I would tend to leave it to the spring now, but give it a wee light trim then.
Another listener wants to know: do strawberry plants in baskets have a season? Mine are dying as soon as they start to develop. The fruits start to grow, but then it dies. They also have multiple heads on them. What am I doing wrong? I did feed them.
A lot of the time, strawberries, especially in a basket, because they're
Can you
not...
just move 6 inches
Yeah,
closer to the
perfect.
pole? I know you have your routine, but I'm struggling to hear you properly.
Yeah, sorry.
And do you know what happens if you're in the car with the car noise, the road noise?
Yes.
It just drops the volume down a little
Yeah.
bit. So go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Basically, in a basket, sir, you have a finite amount of nutrients in it. I know they said they fed them and all, but generally, there's through the summer season, so they may be running out of steam. So them plants might be just running out of steam for this year because they are a seasonal crop, if you know what I mean. But the best thing you do as the plant starts to do that, to start putting out what's known as runners, which are big, long, sort of stringy bits coming out of the strawberry plants, and you'll see wee roots in them. So if you actually just even YouTube it there, it's actually very possible to make new plants out of them at this time of year. So you can actually increase your crop that way.
Is it possible too, then it sounds that when they're going through what feels like must be the most intensive feeding time as they're creating fruit, that they're exhausting the nutrients in that soil?
Yes, I feel in a basket that's usually what happens, all right.
Yeah, okay. My apple trees didn't flower this year at all. Last year I had a good crop. What would be happening there, I wonder?
What would be happening there? Generally, it was a bad year this year at the start of the year. Whenever the sort of apple trees did come into flower, there was bad weather and it didn't last long enough on them to get pollinated. What you could do is generally, come the springtime now with St. Patrick's Day or so, give it a feed with something like potash, something fairly high in potassium, and that should encourage it to produce flowers and then produce fruit. If it's an older tree as well, it's a good idea. Sort of, if there's grass growing up against it, remove that a bit and just do a wee bit of mulch around it, and it'll help it go on that way.
It's interesting too because you just wonder if the seasons are changing a bit up here.
Yes,
particularly up into the northwest. I just wonder if the way things are happening globally, if the trend is that high pressure doesn't quite get in on us, that the low pressure remains dominant. You just wonder if, because there's been 2 summers now really effectively, for example, where the sea hasn't died down at all.
Yeah.
You know, even when the wind drops, there's still a great swell in the sea, and we're talking about, poor harvesting results for the farming community. We're talking about apple trees that have bad starts to the year. It'd be interesting if next year is again like this year, if that is really the change to our weather.
Yeah, funny, I was reading someone last night actually. It was about, they reckon there are changes going on in the Gulf Stream, the way the sort of thing circulates around us, that, and if that does sort of shift itself a bit, how it could very much leave us colder and would just, like say, the low pressures dominate.
It just seems particularly that further north you go in Ireland, because parts of Ireland had really a reasonable summer. Where can you buy calla lily bulbs and snowdrop bulbs?
Most garden centres you would get them all right.
What are they?
Sorry?
What are they?
Snowdrops, obviously, the wee white flowers you see. So they begin this time of year. So there would be snowdrops that can be, for a few years it was very hard to get native ones. It was generally ones were coming in from different markets, but now people are sort of bringing on the native ones again in a big way. So obviously if you're going for them, they'd be the best ones to have. The calla lily bulbs, once again, garden centres, but it'd be closer to the spring. You'd be planting them.
We were walking through Ards yesterday, and by the way, Paul made a wee donation when he came in, which is all very nice and goes into the fund. Thanks, Paul. But there's a particular plant that's present in Ards, and it's not. It's not normally there.
Yeah.
But apparently, and I'm not going to say anything bad, but don't answer any questions, mums and dads. Apparently, this plant is planted around homes in Britain where there's swinging activity.
Oh, right. Yes, I've heard tell of that.
Now, I don't know what the plant is.
Pampas grass was
yes. You seem to be well abreast of this. What is that?
As pampas grass. I think it was more in the 70s and 80s was associated with
So they grow it around houses, and that was an indication that this was a swinger's house.
I think so.
And there's a patch of pampas grass in Ards.
Right. So make of that what you will.
Well, I had a look around. I couldn't see anything untoward going on. But anyway, regarding cutting back Lilandi trees, they haven't been cut in 10 years. They're about 20 feet high. If I cut them, will they die?
They won't die, no. But you have to be quite careful cutting them. Because the Lilandi foliage is only really in the last 2 inches on the outside.
You can leave them looking very bare.
Exactly. If you cut back into the brown foliage inside, that's not going to green up again. So what the best thing to do there would be trim it back a bit this year. Hope that it greens up a wee bit. Like, obviously don't trim back through the green. And hope that it greens up a wee bit deeper in. And then sort of take it back gradually, year by year.
Is this the hedgerow that's high maintenance has kind of gone out of favour a little bit?
Yes, it has totally gone out of favour.
Is it because of the maintenance?
Exactly, it's because of the growth rate.
But you won't get a better hedge.
No, absolutely not. It's almost like a living wall, almost. But they do take a lot of maintenance, chatting 3-4 years, and they can get 3 or 4 times a year, and they can get out of hand very quickly.
And once they get very big, right, if you trim them back and it's bare, do they grow back out again, though?
No. Generally, they don't. You see, if you cut it back into the brown foliage, they will not green up again.
Ooh.
So that's where the problems start.
And are they deep rooters, I wonder?
They're not particularly deep rooted, no, because they're like most of the conifer trees. They're where they naturally come from, sort of in the frost, and that they keep the roots fairly close to the surface.
I mean, they're, in terms of hedge, I mean, you're not going to get better, but as I say, that it's the maintenance of them.
Yes, you have to be careful removing them as well. As I've learned to my detriment before.
Right.
In urban gardens, a lot of the time, the roots can get around pipes and stuff. And if you pull that, you could end up pulling a water main or something like that.
Wow,
there. So if you're removing roots, you have to be quite careful.
Why are my rhubarb leaves yellow?
Your rhubarb leaves are yellow probably because there's not been enough sunshine this year. It's really they're a very, very greedy plant. They like both a lot of manure and stuff like that there, and they like to take a lot of energy out of the sun. They haven't got that energy from the sun this year, so I fear that's probably the reason. Another reason possibly is because if it's an older established rhubarb plant, it may have become too congested.
Yeah.
They like to be divided every so often. So now whenever you get into the springtime, you could actually dig it up and divide it and replant it again in different spots.
What's the fluffy stuff on the stems of my indoor plants?
Powdery mildew, I would say.
Right.
Without seeing it, I would say it would be most likely cause. It's generally caused by high humidity and maybe not enough airflow through the house. So it would be so. If you're trying to deal with it, generally a preventative thing would be to actually increase the airflow. Maybe if it's something in the window, so that open the window every so often.
Yes.
And in terms of an old wives' tale or a home remedy, put mouthwash on it. If you dilute mouthwash to 3 parts water and 1 part mouthwash, and just give it a wee rinse, that should help keep it away.
How can I tell if my soil quality is good?
Soil quality being good, generally you can get kits in garden centres that would be quite inexpensive that would test the fertility of your soil and your the pH of the soil. And if you're starting out in the garden and going to spend a good bit of money on it, it's a good idea to test your soil to actually see the qualities of it. So generally go to your garden centre, get kits. And as far as I know, actually the farming group down the road here, Chaggist, have actually soil testing thing if you want a more comprehensive thing.
I was thinking that'd be quite interesting. A caller wants to know, will pampas grass grow by the coast?
Yes, quite well.
Okay, that's good. Right, okay. Don't know why they want to know that.
No, I don't know that now.
How to stop my dog digging up my garden? Which the good thing about that is it's their own dog and it's their own garden.
Yes, that's not so bad. Yes, can be quite an annoying habit. All right. So once again, dogs are creatures of habit, and they tend to go back to the same spot, digging up a lot. If you know what I mean. So traditionally they don't really like orange peels, orange stuff. So if you get like orange essential oils and spread them in that, might encourage them to go away. So it might, or even the old-fashioned cayenne pepper too.
Yes.
Give them a wee pepper spray, and they might keep away from that area.
Caller wants to know, where can I get pampas grass?
Yes, we have loads of it down there.
Do you?
Yes, well, we do.
Is it a big seller?
Oh, it is. It's quite popular. So it is now. So plenty of pampas grass about. So there is.
Right, you're going to be back again because we're still in the throes of it.
Oh, absolutely. I know. Still plenty to be done in the garden.
All right, okay. Listen, Paul, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. And people can always call into your garden centre.
Absolutely.
The wonderful array of garden centres we have. And just like the powdery stuff on a plant, bring a photo in, show your phone.
Absolutely.
And
I know
you
phones are a great asset
Yeah.
so they are these days now with all the pictures of the problems.
Yeah, exactly. And you use Google Maps as well too, don't you? In some advice scenarios, which is really quite amazing.
Absolutely. Google Earth's great because you can actually look into a person's garden and you can even measure from that, so you don't actually have to go out and look.
Isn't
at
that
things
fantastic?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. That's technology for you. Paul, thanks so much. Thanks again for your donation to Cancer Care West. Really appreciate it. That's Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochder Garden Centre, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Skoda's 2 brand new models are going fast. This is Donal, driving off in his new HVO-powered Superb Combi. And the Breen family, getting their plug-in hybrid Kodiaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't get their order in on time. Order your new Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda. Let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting and more. Now you can find out how much electricity you use by hour, day and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
It'll be mostly cloudy today with scattered showers of rain or drizzle and occasional sunny intervals. The best of that sunshine as we head into the evening, and temperatures today of 15 to 17 degrees. Now, as we read earlier on, a quarter of primary school aged children experience online bullying. This according to a new report. Philip Arneil is Head of Education and Innovation at CyberSafe Kids. He's with us now. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for joining us, Philip. And we can talk around the report, but just to sort of frame it from my perspective, Philip, you know, obviously, as you can imagine in this job, I do lots of interviews on these types of surveys, and it seems to be a worsening situation, and we seem to be observing it. But I don't know what you think, Philip. We don't seem to be doing anything meaningful other than talking about it.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment. I think to say we're doing nothing meaningful is maybe a step too far. I mean, there are changes of, you know, there feels like certainly in the last couple of years there's been more awareness of this. We've been reporting on this kind of data now for 8 years. There's definitely more societal awareness. I think we've seen these kind of grassroots movements around the use of smartphones in schools and school communities coming together to try and address that. We've also seen the establishment of the Online Safety Commissioner and Commissioner Mann. You know, so these are welcome developments, but, you know, as we're moving forward with these kind of things, as you can see from the report today, you know, 82% of 8 to 12-year-olds still have their own social media or instant messaging accounts. So kids are already on there. They have the access. They have, in many cases, unrestricted access. 35% of 8 to 12-year-olds can go online whenever they want. And that rises up to 61% for the 12 to 14-year-olds in secondary schools. And they're not prepared fully and sufficiently for what they're going to encounter when they go online, and particularly when they're accessing these kind of apps and platforms that are not designed for them.
I think too, Philip, when we talk about what happens online, maybe it's a generational thing, Philip. I don't know what age you are, it doesn't matter. But say, for instance, for me, there's the real world, okay? And I function and live in the real world. And then there's the online world that I probably spend too much time on. But it's a clear, I can distinguish that clearly. I think 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, there isn't that distinction. So 63% of them are in this space without telling a parent or guardian if they've been upset. And many of them are. 46% of girls are being bullied. 6 out of 10 of them probably aren't telling their parents, 30% of boys. And we're allowing them free access to this space. 61% go online whenever they have. 20% have no rules about being online at home. And that could simply be switch your PlayStation off at 9, will you? So, this is their actual world. I don't think younger people are differentiating as much as older people might be between on and offline.
No, they don't. And we've for the last 3 years, we've had a campaign around safer internet called Same Rules Apply, which is exactly that message. And the message is very simple. The online and the offline worlds should not be distinguished as some different entity in the sense of what is common sense parenting, what is common sense behavior in the offline world should also be applied to the online world, because actually if you heard that 61% of 12 to 14-year-olds can do whatever they like when they leave the house, you would be really genuinely shocked and people would be up in arms and this has to stop. But 61% of 12 to 14-year-olds in secondary school can go online whenever they want. And actually, you could argue that the risks and harms potentially that young people will come across in the online world are way, way, way beyond what they're going to encounter walking down to the shop to buy a pint of milk.
For sure, and that could
or
be
going
the
to the park to hang out with their friends.
Commissioning of personal images, blackmail, all very illegal. But like the statistic that was in there as well, and again, this is where I think we need to think like young people and not differentiate between an on and offline. The amount of young people that have been approached by a stranger online. I made the analogy earlier on. If a young person came back from school and say, "Mum, I went into Letterkenny shopping centre and this fella came up to me and he sort of asked where I was. He asked what age I was. He asked where was I from. He asked if I had a boyfriend, right?" I'd get a text into this show about some stranger approaching children. There probably would be a complaint to An Garda Síochána. But that's happening to so many young kids online, and we actually don't even know it's happening, only for the results of a survey like this, because we don't know, because 63% of children probably won't tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the most damaging phrases in real life, IRL, because actually, as you've said very clearly, the online world is real life for children and young people. And the reality as well is that a lot of this contact is actually not the sort of traditional stranger danger that you're talking about. Kids are contacted and groomed online, and the purpose of that is to get intimate images and videos of those children. So there's actually no need to actually physically meet them at all. But of course, the audience, the amount of people who out there who are potentially trying to contact minors is much greater than you're going to encounter in a park in Letterkenny or at Letterkenny shopping centre. So this is why, when we're talking about the online world, we've got to stop making the distinction with the offline. We've also got to then apply the same common sense rules to parenting and to education of children and young people that we would apply in the offline world. It's absolutely vital.
Yeah, and I think too, we need to, we constantly blame schools or government or whatever, and we don't want them overreaching in certain aspects of our life. But listen, that's where some change is potentially happening. Whether we want to face it or not, this survey lays bare the lack of oversight and responsibility we as parents, guardians and caregivers are actually doing. So sometimes it's easier to criticise lawmakers or the powers that be, when I think really, Philip, we need to be introspective on this one and say, well, what are we doing? What's in our control?
Yeah, I think it's both. This is a societal problem, and so it needs a societal solution. So yes, parents and guardians have a responsibility. Yes, the education system has to step up, but also, social media companies and online service providers have to be held to account. They have to be properly regulated. There has to be transparency around who's using the platforms. Mm-hmm. There has to be,
and we have to go, Philip, but I know what you're saying. The greatest resistance to proving people are of age to be on these websites is coming from adults, because they don't want to give their information. So it's not kids, it's adults that don't want this information to be shared with social media companies, because they don't want their privacy encroached on, and that they're saying, well, then the collateral damage here is what's happening to our kids. And people might not like me saying it, but that's the way it is. Philip, thank you. Philip Arneal, Head of Education and Innovation at Cyber Safe Kids. We're off. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9. Have a great Tuesday. We've another packed show already.